What is up, everybody? Alright, time for more Epic of Remnant. Well, let's get some slightly more tame music here. Alright, I got my tea. I'm all set up. Man, Agartha, man. What a shitty singularity. But hey, we get a grail out of it, so I shouldn't complain too much. Yeah, I might play some more Ninja Gaiden tonight if I got time. I'm really sleepy though. I had a lot of trouble breathing last night, so didn't get the best night's sleep. All right, what are we doing here? Looks like might be kind of overkill. Here, let's do the switch Mysticode here. Oh yeah, we should use our Hercules versus Megalos. Man, I need to actually farm on this account, man, so I can, one, level up literally anything, but two, so I can get Bond on Big Boy. That is not the switch Mysticode. I'm tired, man. What do you want from me? Alright, good enough. No, you still can't get Sanson's maximum damage. There's literally never been an enemy that you can. Because the few times you fight a human, they're generally not evil, and when you the one human that is evil is not a rider or a berserker or anything like that, so he has never gotten to reach peak performance. Unfortunate. That is weird that like I think there's only like one stage in like the whole game where you can even use both of his skills. But you're not counterclassing, so still not that great. The pirate mobs are human, and they are riders, but they're not evil. But getting counterclass in at least one of his skills gives him, you know, okay damage. I wouldn't say amazing, but it's something. Nice background, though. I'm always complaining that you spend so much time in the Chinese area in Genshin Impact, but even though it's not my kind of aesthetic, it is done very well. You know, like they do a very good job of actualizing their goal there. Yeah, there's that Golem stage in this place. It's amazing for getting those crystals. That's actually one legitimate reason to do this, is to just get that. That's a really good free quest. Excuse me, I'm like burping over here because I'm drinking a bunch of tea. Very classy. Nothing says some class like some tea and belching. Alright. Kind of dramatic music for fighting some trash mobs. Yeah, apparently F2P Arcade is getting a bunch of new units. Not that the regular game is, but you know how that goes. Dude, it's been a while since has been anything to get excited over for F2P. I really hope turn that around. I should have had him cast his NP last turn. Wasn't really paying attention. Wish Hunter Face had her NP right now. Well, she can eat this dragon. You know, they really are gonna get Ushi, you know, before we get an animation update. Holy crap! I should have stunned one. I was all like, yeah, I'll do the art up next turn and guaranteed crits. Hans is back, guys. How about that? Well, that didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. No art up for me. I thought I was being real clever there. I was gonna double art up, NP gain, guaranteed crit, get a loop going, you know. But no. Backfill Mozart, yeah, he didn't really do anything. Yeah, I should have stunned one of the dragons there. And I should have waited until 100 Face actually had her MP. I don't really know what I've been doing this run. Thankfully, this stage is not hard enough that I can get away with being a moron. Hey, Fishy, thank you for the resub, man. 3 months. Thank you. At this point, I should have just tried to get Cleopatra's MP a second time. I would have won by now. Like this music should have been playing a minute ago. Give NP! This is just a slog right now. There we go. Alright, we got him. Pain is over. Look at her landing all the buffs. Oh, hi, Rex. Poi Poi is about to launch a small celebration. I don't know what that means. But I'm somewhat concerned. Oh, hi, Poi Poi, what's up? You motherfucker! I mean, you know, how's life? Alright, let's do Sanson. Hold on, let's... Oh god, he's so bad. I gotta give him a better, I gotta give him a better, CE here, hold on. He needs all the help he can get. I just can't believe my Sanson is that upgraded, and it's like, you see that attack stat, and it's like, really? Like, look at this, 100 Face isn't upgraded at all. You know, completely vanilla, and Sanson is barely ahead on the stats, so then her skills are so much better than his that it's just like, oh my god. Wait, that costs $5? That costs $5? What the fuck? That doesn't seem like... Fuck! My main account's in the middle of a farming stage. Well, I guess we're going with the... We're going with the shitty CE here. Feels bad. But the goddamn chickens on the main account, apparently. Chat, I gotta do this stage, and then on the side, I gotta do this, like, double scatty 3-turn setup real quick. God damn it. Hi, Arjuna. Well, I missed... People were, like, saying things, and I missed it. Green, I came back to Epic 7 after seeing your stream. Oh god, the other day, and it welcomed me with a two 99% Christmases in a row. I know that feeling. Since when did FX7 have crits? Oh, it has crits, of course. What am I talking about? It's because its crits are so different from F-Go's, right? It's your crit stat is just inherent to the unit all the time. And I'm used to units that you crit, you know, you get 100% crit, right? And then you kind of forget you're even critting, it just becomes their damage. But yeah, I got some units like that too, where they've got like 98 point some odd crit chance, and then you don't crit, and it's like, oh, great. I'm old, don't mind me, chat. These are not pirates. In case you didn't notice. Dude, there are so many trash mobs and 3 stars and stuff in that game that I love the designs of, and they actually have fun gameplay that I want to use, but then you remember you have to gear everyone, and it's like awful. So when I started Genshin Impact, I remember saying I was pretty worried that its gearing system would end up being a lot like Epic 7's, and it does have a lot of similarities, but thankfully it's not half as bad, at least not yet. It's not even the ballpark as being as bad, but yeah, that could change. Chat, will Sanson kill here? I have faith. I mean, he's got the extra attack, for God's sakes. And he's, there we go, easy crits, boys, no problem. The sad part is if he had not killed there, then I wouldn't even know what to say. 20k in your counterclassing. I actually think they should add more adventure ranks to the game, but not like, don't gate anything behind it. You know, like you can make it where you can get your world harder if you want it to, but like, kind of like how F-Go's got master levels, you know, they don't really matter. Yeah, and you can switch gear around without it costing money. Yeah, that's a big help. Oh, this is only 2 waves. Okay, how am I gonna do this here? Should have used 100 Faces 3rd skill first, but whatever. You know what? Let's have one like filler turn and just, you know, get Hans's buff. They're gonna make the AP cap higher in Genshin Impact. Fuck Genshin Impact. I wish the AP cap was higher in frickin' F-Go and everything cost like, what is with literally everything costing 40 AP in this game? Like, how is that fun? Like, yeah, let me just play this for 20 seconds. Like, I don't even know why they did it like that. It's so weird to me. And I'm a real advocate for giving people multiple ways to use their AP. You can have stages that are designed for people that kind of want to go and not let their AP whiff. So you get like a lot done in one stage or whatever. It takes a lot of AP, you know, that kind of thing. You know, like time efficiency stages. And then other things that aren't like that. Like, there are some games that do that, right? Where they give you multiple ways to spend your AP on like a daily type scenario, right? And they give you ways to do it like, oh, I want to play for a while and have some fun, or I want to just, you know, get the efficiency in, and that's that, right? But, yeah, F-Go's not like that. Alright, Sanson. Just pretend that this this bee is a human and evil. Why do I have no master? Rex, did you kill me? Is the appointed time finally come? Like, what's going on here? Well, that was kind of disappointing. Rex was orc the whole time. Thought they're gonna be disappointed by Lost Ball 7 then. Okay, well they got everyone, alright. I know, this is crazy. I remember this was like 2 years ago maybe. But it was before 2.0 had started. There was an interview with Nasu where he was talking about like how the ending of 1.0 was really epic, and he had to try, as they were making the outline for 2.0, he had to try to make it even better. And he was kind of saying, you know, things are going to get crazy at the end of 2.0. And I remember way back then thinking, oh man, I hope he's talking about Ort. And that felt like such a long shot because they never use Ort. But I was like, because at the time we had like the established, you know, stuff, you know, instead of thinking up some, you know, random new thing, I was trying to think of like what's in the Nasu verse that's already exists and it's crazier than Guadia and all that, and Tiamat and all that. And I was like, yeah, you know, Ort, that'd be cool. But I doubt they're gonna do it. But that'd be cool. But I think they are going to use Ort. Like I think he is going to be in it. But I don't know if he's. I get the feeling he's going to get wrecked and not, you know, like just get possessed or something and not get to do anything cool. Wow, poi. Trying to Sanson me. Also, yes, we have the tuna can now. So when people actually ask what the hell we're talking about, you know, the funny thing is NA people still won't get it. Because like they haven't even seen the picture, so. Honestly, Tiamat came out of 1.0 looking pretty good. Like, I'd say she ended up looking stronger than Guadia. They don't ever fight directly or anything, so. But I think Ort's gonna get possessed by the alien god. That's what they're setting up, and I hope that doesn't happen, because that's dumb. But I would not be surprised if something along those lines happens. What do I want to use here? I'm not sure I've actually given this guy max foes. I don't think I have, but he has some. Also 111 feels good. Could really use David, but nah. I probably won't play Ninja Gaiden today. I'll probably try to do that tomorrow, mainly because I'm just tired. Like, forming sentences is difficult, so. Like, I'm on the edge of just being all like, right? So, I think I'll save that one for tomorrow. Y'all could drop some Golem cores, that would be great. But I could definitely see them doing something with Ort where like the alien god tries to possess him, but it doesn't really work out for various reasons. But Ort wakes up, and then you gotta deal with that whole situation, and that's kind of like, you know, a Tiamat deal relative to where you fight Guadia. I could see them doing that. Which that would be better than the alternative. I think Lost Ball 1 tree and 2 tree about the same. I killed both of them in one try, it's kind of like, whatever, like they're... Neither of them are too big of a deal. 3 is probably the first tree that starts to matter, then 4 is an actual boss fight, like that one's a pretty decent boss right there, then 5 didn't have a tree, so... In terms of like the fights where you just straight up fight a tree, Lost Belt 3 is the last time they've done that, and that was definitely the hardest one. The question is, Rex, can you get Bond 10 before I get Bond... I'm sorry, can you get 2 more Grails before I get Bond 10 Herc? See, I'm speaking backwards, man. Mess. Alright. This is completely overkill damage, but I just want to do it for the fun of it. See what we get here. don't know why I didn't cast that last turn. Okay, chat, here's a question. So, just for like your own personal bias, right? Like whatever you'd want selfishly. What unit in the game that absolutely, and let me be clear about this, a unit that absolutely does not need an animation update? Like their animations are way, like, you know, really recent, right? Not even remotely old, right? So like, I don't know, Epic of Remnant and on, right? So what character would you like out of that lot to get an animation update? Maybe because you just don't like what animations they have, or there happens to be some that you just you know, aren't, you think are lazy or didn't fit the character or whatever. Ziggurat, yeah, I can understand that, honestly. Arthur, I see, when was Arthur? Arthur was, he was after Epic of Remnant. Yeah, I actually kind of agree with that one. Arthur's they're okay, and his MP's really good, but his attacks are kind of and they've never been my favorite, so I wouldn't mind Arthur getting an upgrade. So for Chiron, he's alright, but you know, personal preference. Space Star Valkyrie. Ushi, yeah, that's a new servant, So for me, it's probably Canis, and it's mostly just her initial Buster card. Most of her animations are fine, but her initial Buster card is awful. And I am just, okay, they have, I want to just slap them for this, right? They gave her 3 different Buster animations, but one of which you basically never see. And her Buster is a hit count of 3, which that gives you a lot of room for like playing around, right? Where like if you have really high hit counts like Scath and Gilgamesh, they're kind of going to go out of their way to not, you know, represent each hit because they can't be bothered, and it's just been kind of like a blah, right? But normally if you have like a 3 hit, it's like, you know, boom, 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 right? And Canis even has like her quick attack where she like, you know, rams them and then hits them with the shield and then stomps on them, right? You know, boom, boom, boom. But then her Busters, which are all 3 hits, all of them just hit 1 time, but they have the hits, you know, count as multiple hits. You know, she just shoots the water blasts and hits a bunch of times. She just eagle dives them and it hits them a bunch of times and like does the big, you know, smack with the BM combo and hits them. But that's so dumb! Like, you got 3 hits for Buster, for God's sakes, and they made like some of the most unsatisfying animations ever. Myth is obviously a really old character. We're talking about people that like don't need an animation update. Oh yeah, Okita. Yeah, they could like, that was such a disappointing animation update. I see a lot of people saying Ziggurat though. Yeah, I think a lot of people just weren't fond of how knife punchy he was, I suppose. I want another Hans update to get rid of Kiara. I can support this. Moriarty could be better. He's alright, I think he's pretty good, but he's kind of right on the edge of when he started getting really good at that kind of thing. Gwen doesn't really count. He's old enough that, you know, you can actually see them giving him an animation update. Oh, hi, Mr. Spriggan. So, if Mozart doesn't die, I can do a double... Wait, I can just stun, can I? Yeah. I can do a double crit turn here. Oh wait, he doesn't have the CE. I thought Mozart had the 20-star CE, then I was gonna do this. Damn it. That didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Well, we still might crit. I'll save the thing. I thought Mozart had the 20 stars when he arrives, but he doesn't. He's got the Battle Camelot. I'd say Babylon is like right on the edge of where they're probably not going to do many animation updates. I think some things in Babylon they probably will update. But I think a lot of stuff after Babylon, not so much. Like, I don't see Epic of Remnant stuff like Lobo getting an animation update, really. Maybe with the exception of just like super popular characters and things like that. Honestly, once they get all the old servants done, like, you know, everything from Babylon and like sooner, especially the sooner, right? All that, because we still have day 1 stuff, for God's sakes. I wouldn't be surprised if they almost never do animation updates. So it's once that lot's done, I think they'll just do ones here and there for characters that are like really relevant because of a movie or something, or a main story thing. But it sucks, but I don't see them ever updating someone like Moriarty or more recent stuff like that. I don't see them ever doing it. I think Bedivere will get one eventually. Might take a while though, because Ushi and Leonidas don't have theirs yet, so. So I finally decided on my main account. My next Grail is either going to be Leonidas or Tesla. And I have not decided which one yet, though. But it's going to be one of the two. And then I really want to get a fucking NP2 of Tesla, so if they could rate him up, that would be great. Somebody gonna die. I might Grail Leonidas first, just because he's a low star and like he kind of needs it more, where Tesla's pretty good regardless. And Leonidas will probably get an animation update before Tesla. But I like them both a lot, so we shall see. I don't know what's up with my master icon. I got snapped or something. Guess we got a drop there. Dude. Oh my god. My brain is so fried from not sleeping well. Like, this sucks. No, there ain't no witty remarks coming out of me today. That ain't gonna happen. I can barely formulate a sentence. God. I'm actually kind of happy though, because I think this is going to result in me being able to go to bed earlier, which is what I want. The whole sleep apnea shenanigans has just resulted in my clock when I want to sleep being way later than I want it to be. So I'm hoping this will let me go to sleep a bit earlier and kind of get it back where I want it. And they did alright with Leonidas, but I mean the source material didn't give him a lot of screen time to begin with, so it wasn't like they were going to be able to do. The main issue I have, this isn't really unique to Leonidas, it's just the way the Babylon anime was, and it's the way a lot of anime like it is, and a lot of Fate animes like this, where it's like very... So okay, if you compare the Babylon anime to like Fate Zero or something, there's a real difference in the way they handle characterization, right? Now, you may subjectively like the Babylon anime more, and that's fine, but it's really hard to argue, like, that Babylon does as good of a job as fleshing out its characters, right? It relies heavily on just the fan service angle, and like, it's not an anime that I think it couldn't stand on its own. Like, it really couldn't. If you weren't already into Fate, you don't have to be into FGO specifically, but you have to kind of already be into Fate, I think, to get that much out of Babylon. Because a lot of its characters are so skin deep, they're not really flushed out. Cause look at like Ushi, Benkei, and Leonidas, right? Like when they're first introduced, they kind of just vaguely throw their archetype at you, and like in the bar scene. And that's kind of it, really, right? Like they don't really give them time to be characterized all that much. Where if you look at like Fate Zero, you know, Fate Zero does a really good job really fleshing out its characters and showing their viewpoints and their goals, and they have like a character arc that's thematic to the story, and it's like there's like a lot of effort there, where, you know, Babylon doesn't really have that, right? If you don't already like Gilgamesh, you're not going to get that much out of Gilgamesh in the Babylon anime alone, and that's just kind of how it is in general. Right, it's just kind of surface level, and that some of that's because it's based on a game, and the game wasn't able to flesh things out as much because it's more ABC with like the pacing and everything. But I was really hopeful that the Babylon anime would have kind of restructured things a little bit to give, you know, flesh it out a bit better, have a more smooth, you know, story and character progression and whatnot. But they didn't really do that. Like they really didn't do that at all. You know, they made some fight scenes, you know, better or worse in some cases. Rip Benkei. You know, but yeah, it's not like an anime that would ever hold up as like a masterpiece. It's pretty skin deep in a lot of departments, and in a lot of ways, I actually say it has less characterization than the game did, which that's saying a lot, like especially with Tiamat. But I think for Leonidas specifically, you know, they did a good job of, you know, making him cool and everything, right? So and like actually, because in the game he kind of just, you know, this sprite shakes and that sprite shakes, and oh, Leonidas is dead now, right? So that wasn't, you know, anything great, where the anime kind of made it an actual fight scene. So that's nice. And they did that for several things. So they cut several fight scenes too, but alright, please tell me we're fighting pirates now. Yeah, I like how they cut, Gil's dialogue at the end. That was pretty lame. Gotta make MASH more important or whatever. I think they gave it to the main character, kind of. I mean, he didn't say the same thing or anything. But they kind of tried to give that, like, insight from him, although I don't think it worked very well. I'm gonna BRB real quick. I need to grab some water. Yeah, their whole thing with Aya was, guys, if we make the bass drop the loudest, that's how we show that it's powerful, right? Like that was like their logic, and that was pretty bad. All right, I'll BRB 1 minute. Banging my cup on everything. Now, I will say, one issue they might have had with doing Aya in the Babylon anime was I don't think they were actually working with Type Moon or DW or just Nasu himself at all, right? And so that's kind of like legitimately, if I was in their spot, I wouldn't really know how to do that either. I probably would have just copied, Fate CCC if anything, because that's what it was kind of based on. But they probably didn't know what they could actually get away with in terms of all that spacey bullshit shenanigans it can do. And so yeah, I think they just made it a generic blast, and they're like, yeah, to make it sound or seem powerful, we'll have it, be really, really loud, and I mean really, really loud. But like when you compare the Babylon anime, Aya compared to just literally CCC, like the game CCC, its version of Aya, right? It's it's kind of lame in the anime, and then really loud and annoying. I mean, I think a lot of people like Trap Face just because they think he's cute and that kind of thing. Which, that if that's what they like, that's fine. Like, there's not a problem with that. I don't like him, obviously, but I don't find him cute either, so. Remember when he actually got to be a character? Indeed. Yeah, I will say, that does suck. He really did get the Umu treatment, where remember when Nero was an actual character, and then now she's just an Umu meme? Kind of the same thing with, the Trap Face. He used to be a character that happened to be a trap, and now he is the trap character. Dude, his NP gain is painful. Like, his NP gain is painful. At least, though, he's got the battery skill. Honestly, I don't know why people act like he's useless. He really isn't. Like, yeah, he's not the best rider in the game, but anyone with a 50% battery is pretty handy, right? And a lot of farming stages don't require you to loop or anything. You just need, like, that unit to clear the one wave without needing a lot of help. And he's perfectly good at that kind of thing. So, like, yeah, not the best rider, but honestly, I think he's easily one of the more usable units in terms of, like, farming or just AoE stuff. Unlike a AoE Billy. Like, obviously his repeat NP is interesting. I like how he's so bad against Guadia because most people, they just get, you know, ludicrous MP gain from Guadia attacking them, right? But he doesn't. Like, as generous as Guadia is, he still doesn't really get anything from Guadia, so he really struggles to loop there. It's rough. But yeah, you can get his initial NP so easily that he can be very useful. I'm very worried about the Camelot movies. I'm crazy worried about the Camelot movies because they're being made by 2 different studios. That's just insanity. And like, not only is it insanity, but there's literally no reason for it that can be good, right? Any reason that you would have 2 separate studios working on a series of movies like that, so your option, there's a few options. One, the studio heads, you know, are just out of their minds, right? There's always that. But it's probably something like the first studio doesn't want to do the other movie, or they didn't have the schedule for it, or they were going to do the second movie, but they're like, no, fuck this. We're just going to do the one that we're contractually obligated to do, and then we're out. You know, or they're trying to like make it a faster production. So why, like, you know, while one studio is finishing up on the first movie, the other studio is already starting pre-production on the second movie, stuff like that. I think that's actually a pretty likely reason. Because I don't think they'd want them making 2 movies at the same time, because then you're gonna have inconsistencies and like problems. But once the, you know, first season's about done, and then they can kind of, you know, communicate and be, you know that they're not gonna mess something up. Like, oh, we got this plot point and this thing here. So they can start pre-production ahead of, you know, like sooner than normal. Like, so I think that could be the reason. So it's either budget, someone quit or got fired, or timing, you know, trying to make it quicker production. None of those things spell, you know, good quality, right? None of those things spell good quality. It's just so bizarre. Like, it's so bizarre. Can you imagine if Heaven's Feel was made by 3, like each movie was made by a different company? Like, what a fucking stupid idea. I feel like, well, the thing is, IG can be good. They've made some good stuff before, absolutely. But honestly, most anime studios that have been, like, the big name ones, if they're given a good time frame and budget, pretty much all of them make good stuff. It's just they normally aren't given a good time frame and a good budget. And then also you have, you know, how much they care, because it could just be IG doesn't care, and like that's why they're not doing the second movie, and this is just something they're slapping in their schedule, right? So I don't know. Well, it's hard to say, but I am worried. Like, there's just everything surrounding the production does not sound like, you know, it doesn't sound smooth. It sounds like a shit show. I mean, Aniplex does have a lot of budget to give, but that doesn't mean they always give it. I mean, for God's sakes, you know, the Fate brand is huge and makes a lot of money and everything, but some of their projects they really didn't give that much money to. Like, I mean, even the APOC anime was quite rushed. And they didn't give them a very high episode count to work with and all that kind of stuff. So at some point, hold on. I gotta give Sanson a better CE here. We gotta get past this. Get some stats on our boy. Get carried by Golden Sumo, you know? That's my Sanson music. Yeah, nice to see Sanson with 11k. That's nice, but it's, you know, a lot of that's the CE. But I'll take it. But like, also, there's so many problems with like adapting a lot of the Fate stories, or not the Fate stories, the F-Go specifically stories. Because the game, especially in the early days, it didn't explain anything. So if you're not working with Nasu or something, you're just kind of guessing, right? Like, well, let's, and what they end up doing is kind of like, what's that, Death Battle, right? Like when Death Battle does their fight scenes, right? Like the YouTube series. They don't really have the fight scene play out in a logical way at all. They kind of just look for excuses to show off each of the characters' abilities, right? And then someone loses, you know, based off whatever they think is logical, right? But like the fight scene itself is almost like fluff. right? Like, for real, like, the fight scene basically isn't real. It's just an excuse to show off each character's abilities, so then they just, who wins, wins, right? And anime does that all the time, by the way. Like, like, the actual abilities don't matter. They're just finding, like, everything about the trailers and stuff for Camelot, I really feel like that's what we're gonna see. We're not gonna really see their powers represented well, and all that kind of stuff, and things play out logically. I think it's going to be a lot of like, okay, here we're going to try to, you know, force these abilities into the fight scenes just to show them off, but the outcome is the outcome, and so even if this doesn't make any fucking sense, you know, this thing's going to happen anyway, right? You see that a lot in anime in general, but especially with something like this, because the game a lot of time doesn't make sense. Like, let's be real, a lot of the outcomes into the various fights that happen in FGO do not make sense. Like, how on earth did we beat Megalos and Columbus at the same time when our forces consisted of Fergus, Lily, Trapface, and Dion? Like, that's not even possible, right? Like, it's literally impossible. But like, so it's like, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of that in Camelot, right? It's like, well, the story says this character wins, so fuck it, right? Like I think it's gonna be a lot of that, and then like it'll just be like shallow. Like the representation of their abilities, I think, is going to be shallow, and I think Fate is guilty of that a lot. You know, never mind the Camelot movies. I think Fate is super guilty of doing that often, you know, because it's been handled by so many different writers and so many different studios and all these things that, you know, it's kind of all over the map. But, yeah, so I'm kind of worried about that. But I'm always worried about that with Fate, because, you know, Fate's shit about it, so. But yeah, because, like, FGO was written not really to have, like, like, they weren't even trying to explain things. Like, they weren't trying to, you know, explain who won what fight and why, right? It kind of is like, okay, yeah, you won. Oh, good job. You know, it's very video gamey. Like, Camelot's, you know, premise and everything is really cool and stuff, but it's still very video gamey the way the plot unfolds. And, like, as a studio, it's like, how do you adapt that, right? So it's like, it's not like they can change the outcomes of anything. They can't. So you're kind of, you know, forced into things. So yeah, I think the fight scenes might end up feeling pretty shallow, but most FGO stuff feels that way to me. They've started to do a little bit better with that, like in the Lost Belts and stuff. Like, things are a little bit explained a bit better, and sometimes, you know, they actually have, like, just things just happen in the visual novel bits, and they actually explain what's happening. Not as well as I think the, you know, like the actual proper books do, but they've definitely gotten better about that. So if they ever do Lost Belt stuff, I think it could be better. There's still, don't get me wrong, there's still some instances throughout the Lost Belt, so I'm like, what? But it's definitely better. Like Billy versus Atalante actually makes sense, right? The way that unfolded is like, yeah, that's, you know, he's got quick draw and like the perfect aim and everything, and they're basically having a standoff, you know, shootout, you know. So it's kind of like, yeah, of course Billy's gonna win there. And you know they explain their, you know, like what's going on with Adam pretty well and that kind of stuff. So like, you know, some of that stuff is all right. And like in Lost Belt 5, you know, Orion is blessed by a water god, right? And we all, you know, we know how, you know, strong he is and everything, and Jason's there too and stuff. So like his fight with Canis actually makes sense. Like, he doesn't just beat Canis cuz, right? It's kind of like if Canis was in Fate Extra, for example, and you had a fighter as the main character, even though Nero's not blessed by a water god, you would just win anyway, right? And they don't explain it, right? It just, oh, you won the gameplay bit, so you got him, right? And then if you make an anime out of that, you're like, right? It's like, it doesn't make any sense, right? But, you know, thankfully in like Lost Belt 5, it actually does make a degree of sense. There are a few parts though, especially when like the main character is like on their own, where it doesn't, some of the, like the boss fights don't make a lot of sense, like how you survive and stuff, so. How about 5-2 while Wadim saves us and we just stand there? Yeah, no, I think what they're gonna do if they animated that is they'd have you be very far away from him, for what, you know, like they'll have this spacing be where you're quite far away from him and he'll be all, get out of here, and you know, so you couldn't have gotten over there anyway. Like you're going to be much farther away from him than Beryl is, right? Now, I still don't see how they're going to do this, because it's not like Beryl showed up and then, you know, tried to stab Wadim and Wadim blocked it, right? And then, like, immediately the other shit happens. That's not what goes on at all, right? There's some talking and bullshit going on. Nice master portrait, by the way. But, like, so what, like, what, we're going to just stand there that whole time? Like, that whole time with Beryl, we're just going to be standing, like, across the room? And not, even though we have servants, we have multiple servants that are ungodly fast, right? And we have Beryl show up and is obviously a threat to everyone and is a problem. And yet all of our servants are gonna like stay in like a huddled group, like on the other side of the room, really far away from them, right? Like, I think that scene's gonna look really stupid, no matter what they do. But I'll be interested to see if they add some nonsense to try to make it a bit less dumb. Canis was reasonable though, because Canis actually got to Wadim, for God's sakes. Unlike our slow asses stuck in, you know, the tar pits. But she was literally like not even in this the area. She was off fighting Limbo, and then she senses her master's in danger, so she stops fighting Limbo and rushes over. And even though we're like really close to him and she's not, and we have servants, she still got there first somehow, because, you know, that makes sense. But that like I said, that scene's gonna be stupid. There's no way you could animate that scene and have it not be stupid. But that's not the studio's fault, right? You could literally hire the best anime studio on the planet. You can't fix a stupid story, right? It's like that part of the story is just pretty contrived. It's kind of like, yeah, we need Wadim to die, right? So we're just gonna have this happen. It doesn't matter that you have Sherlock and MASH and all these things. You know, fuck all that. Fucking, you know, regular human Beryl gonna get him here, right? So yeah, it's, you know, when the plot beckons, you know, that's just kind of, it is what it is. They forgot how to serve it, indeed. It's so funny too, because remember in Fate Zero when Kuretsugu runs into Diarmid, and Diarmid is just like, I could kill you with the flick of my wrist. I mean, he's not even kidding, right? It's like, Diarmid is just so much faster and stronger than Kuretsugu. There is nothing Kuretsugu can do. Literally nothing. It doesn't matter with his time alter, all that stuff. He's so outclassed by a servant in a head-on fight like that. He's just absolutely fucked, right? And that's basically all, you know, mortals versus servants for the most part, with some very few exceptions, right? But yeah, Sherlock and Nash kind of forgot about that. They tripped. And it's just really awkward because, like, if they wanted to, they should have, like, the way to have that be more natural is they should have already had the main characters group not leaving, left. They should have already left before, you know, Beryl goes to stab Wadim and all that kind of stuff, right? They should have just already been not even in the vicinity, so they don't even see it, right? Like, that would have been way better. Because, like, if you're in the vicinity, and when you consider how ungodly fast servants are, it makes no sense that we don't stop, you know, Beryl. Like, it's just silly. It's not like Beryl's, like, you know, servant speed here or anything. Alrighty, let's see. I killed the music, excuse me. Maybe who hasn't played any of the Lost Belt, listen to this, yeah. Good luck with that. So far, in terms of like the way the story unfolded and then like them explaining things and everything, I think Lost Belt 1 is actually the best that they've done. I thought they did a pretty good job with all that. Dude, I hate the tuna can. It's so pointless. And then every time I play NA, it's not there, and it's just everything's a mess. Like, why? I should have used Hansa's third skill. See ya, Red. It is funny, Galahad did use a sword, and he has one as a servant, and she has one as, you know, when she's possessed by him and all that, or fused with him, or if you want to see that. But, yeah, never uses it for some reason. I think, honestly, the reason for that is, at this point, they just... It's like she was designed with it, but it wasn't supposed to be her primary weapon, which is fine. But, you know, that's no big deal. You know, she's a shielder. It's like Galahad is a shielder, right? It's fine. But because it was never like used in the games, and because the games never explain, like they're like, oh, mash, you know, step to her left and then bashed on the guy's head. You know, they don't, none of that exists, right? So they never really had any examples of her using it. So all the anime never had any examples of her using it. But it's part of her character design, so it's there. But now we're so far in and she's never used it. They're kind of like, you know, it's kind of like just window dressing at this point. Speaking of which, I feel like Sanson's third skill is about as useful as Mash's sword, right? Like, you know, it looks nice, but it doesn't really do anything. Beastly. Oh god, that's an emote combo right there.
Merry bad end, Dana.
Yes.
I don't think he's gonna kill. That's unfortunate. Oh no, right on the money there. Okay. Funnily enough, our first skill is actually the one not doing anything here. Okay, guaranteed crits. It's nice. I wish Sanson had another Buster card, so the Buster crit with attack up on the third trash mob. You know, that'd be a lot more damage. I think VR Mash does not have the sword, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive that's the case, but I may be mistaken. Rip stars. Why didn't I use 100 Faces first skill? I mean, it's not really gonna matter, but see, with his third skill, with the first card Buster bonus, Buster in third place, you know, got, you know, Grails, fucking level 100 golden sumo, for God's sakes, all this stuff, 24k. It's like, that's okay, but I mean, like, there's a lot of units that can just be like, you know, Buster up, you know, click red buttons and get bigger damage than that, and they're not grailed, so it's not great. My god, though, you fight so many writers here. Sanson spam, let's go. Sanson and Billy are two units that I want animation updates for really badly. I just want them to get good ones, where lately they haven't been making good animation updates, so now I'm almost worried for anyone I like to get an animation update. Yeah, it's like, for me, I really want to see Leonidas, Mozart, Shakespeare, Billy, Sanson, like those are ones I really want animation updates for. But I absolutely, you know, I do like Ushi, so I want Ushi to get one. And at this point, I'm like, okay, she more than deserves it now. It's been like a year since the Babylon anime and everything, so I'm like, okay, it's at this point, anyone, okay, you know, you got people like Beowulf and stuff that are, you know, they're pretty outdated, but there are better than day one characters, right? Like Beowulf clearly has a better sprite and stuff than a day one character. But the fact that we're 5.5 years in and we still have many, not just animations, but day one animations, that I just think it's completely ridiculous. When you have a game that makes this much money, and they even said they were going to try to update all the day one people and stuff, that we're this 5.5 years in, and we still have a bunch. Like, we still have a bunch of day one animations. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's just silly. Like, it's like, Because it's blatant that although they said it was something they were gonna do, it's so not a priority for them, right? Because like, oh, we can't monetize this. Someone said Ushi wasn't gonna get an animation update because she died in Babylon. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, basically every servant dies in everything that they're ever in, right? That doesn't really seem to be their criteria. So that's some weird reasoning right there. Summer Ushi doesn't even look that good though. Like her sprite is fine. But my god, they were lazy with her attack animations and her NP. Her NP is awful, dude. Like really low quality stuff. I want to say this though. I truly think the lowest quality NP. It doesn't necessarily look the worst, but I think the NP that is the lowest quality, least effort from DW possible, is Leonidas. He doesn't do anything, and not only that. But like when he like glows and stuff, that's just a stock animation that they use for like when you cast the skill and stuff. So like they didn't make anything unique for Leonidas's NP. He's even moving his body in the way that he does for a skill animation. He's literally just doing a skill animation in his NP, right? There nothing like it's 2 frames, right? It's 2 frames. It's nothing. Nothing happens. Boudica's close, but they at least had to make the shitty wheels. Right? Like they at least had to, well, it's one wheel and they just copy pasted it over and over again. But like they at least made one unique thing for Boudica's NP, which is the wheel, right? And she's close. Don't get me wrong, she's close. That's pretty good, basically. But because you know she literally is doing her skill animation as well, and it's mostly stock stuff. But like they at least made like some of the flame stuff within the wheels. So that's a little bit better. But yeah, Leonidas is pretty shit. But yeah, chariot. Yeah, that's not exactly a chariot. Man, I should have done Hans's thing. I was going for like a double NP, but it's too late now. I guess we'll wait a turn to do Sanson's just so we can get bigger peak damage, just to be fancy. Also, I can't believe this isn't a costume. Like, it's crazy to me that they never made this a costume. Like, when you do Halloween events, why do you not use all these like costumes that are already in the game, right? It's Halloween, for God's sakes. That's the costume time. But yeah, every Halloween event they ever did never had anything to do with costumes, so 10 out of 10 quality on that one. I mean, in F-Go Arcade, you get to see the actual chariot. And like her character material explains, you know, how it works and everything. Alright. Well, she's at least evil, but she's not a human. Nice having 100 face so close to inking again. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to fight anymore, but alright, let's see what Sanson's got here. I know I should do 100 faces art card, but let's see the Sanson damage. Although, if I did Buster first, then NP, I might have been able to target switch and actually kill them all. Probably not, though. Woo, look at that, though! Feels nice seeing Sanson do big numbers. No one has a Buster card, that's a no. Sanson might kill anyway, he got crits, and we have attack up. Yeah. I don't think she's all that disliked. Like, the whole, you know, Drake situation I don't think people were happy with, but I don't think the costume's unpopular. Dude, if they put Nero in Boudica's animations, oh god. I don't think they would go that far. Yeah, I hope they work Boudica's, because basically, as described, so she's got her sword out all the time, right? And she does not have to say, like, activate the NP's name or anything. And it kind of just, like, naturally shoots out, like, little mini lasers. And it can just do that all the time. So she's, like, meleeing and firing lasers out. That's kind of how she's supposed to fight. And then if she, like, says its name, then she can fire a big, you know, blast out of it. So a good way to do that is, like, incorporate some words, like, you know, the sword's, like, glowing and shoots some, you know, she melees them and it fires a laser out of it while you smack them, right? And make her extra attack the big shot, right? Because obviously they can't change her NP, it's gotta be the chariot still. What is the least popular waifu in the game? I would say Calamity Jane, to be honest. She is crazy unpopular, and, you know, I think they wanted her to be a waifu, but my god, is she not popular. And then, I don't know, maybe Jinkei? That might be, you know, borderline waifu territory or not, but, Jinkei's not too popular. Like, and here's, you gotta understand, Calamity Jane's, how to put it, her popularity is inflated on the NA side of things, because she's an American character, right? But even then, she's not that popular. And, I mean, she is just nothing in Japan. I mean, she has no fan art. No one talks about her. You know, you never see her grailed on JP. Like, she is... The only time I've ever seen Calamity Jane grailed is when it's an NA player playing on the Japanese server. Right? I've never seen, like, just generic Japanese grailed Calamity Jane. She has absolutely no fan art ever. No one talks about her at all. Like, that is ungodly unpopular. Anyone... Because like you said waifu, right? So it's got to be a character that you classify in like that category, right? And so I can think of other characters that are less popular than her, but I wouldn't really call them waifus either. So, but yeah, she's very unpopular. I don't really like her design either. I don't mind her character. Her character's all right. But in her design, I'm like, why did we need the giant laser gun in rainbow colors and shit? I think it's a lot of things. I mean, yes, Saber Wars 2 was really unpopular, and that definitely plays into it. But there's been unpopular things before that at least like one thing came out of, like, oh, at least this one thing is good, right? That happens all the time. I don't think Calamity Jane would have been popular regardless of that. Like, when I saw her leaked design many years ago, I never thought that would be popular in Japan, ever. Right? That's like the kind of shit that they think would be popular to NA people. But it's not, right? Because it's all about, you know, America's all about, you know, flags and cheeseburgers and you know, everything's flamboyant, right? Japan really has this idea that America is very, like, overly, they think every American is, oh my god, patriotic and just very flamboyant. Like, that is very much, like, an idea that a lot of Japanese people have about Americans. It's obviously not accurate, but, you know, look at, you know, Edison, for God's sakes, right? Like, they always represent Americans that way. It's very common. But, yeah, it's the kind of design that, and those kind of designs anyway, like, if you look at a lot of anime has portrayed Americans as this really over-the-top, you know, flamboyant kind of thing. A lot of anime represents Americans that way. And those characters normally aren't very popular, right? They're just not. Like, there rarely are those kinds of characters popular in Japan, never mind FGO or mobile games. And so the second I saw Calamity Jane's design, I was like, this is obviously not going to be popular, and big surprise, it's not. And then you combine that with the fact that Saber Wars 2 was not a particularly liked event. It's just kind of a, you know, a perfect storm for her to be unbelievably unpopular. Okay, she actually has health bars now. That's the thing. Yeah, Ibiraki is one of those characters. I would never say Ibiraki is like super popular, right? She's nothing like that. But you know, she's got. I have never looked, but I guarantee you, because I check Reddit every once in a while, and I, you know, look for news and that kind of thing. And I have never, you know, seen a Calamity Jane fan art ever. None, right? Like it just doesn't exist. But like with Ibaraki, there's some. Like it's not a lot. I'm sure there's not that much, but I'm sure she has some. And then like I'm sure, and I've seen plenty of Grailed Ibarakis, right? I've seen plenty of Grailed Ibarakis. Not as many as, you know, Jalter or Ishtar or anything like that, sure, but so Ibaraki's like the banana. She's in that space where it's like, yeah, she's got a following. It's not huge, but you know, there's a noticeable following there, and that's how most waifus are. They normally have at least some kind of a following, right? It's honestly, I can't think of another female character that's like a waifu material in FGO that is unpopular like Calamity Jane. I can't think of anything. The only thing that's even close would be like Jin K. But I got nothing else. Yeah, I'm sure Calamity Jane has some art, but it's like none, where you compare her to literally any other you know, Fate waifu, and she's gonna get absolutely blown out of the water. There's no way that it's that. Jin K might actually have less. I have no idea. It's not like I've gotten scientific about this, but I've seen a decent number of Grail Jin Ks, and some of them from NA players, but I've seen some from Japanese players too. Although she's been out longer, so. I mean, I think people like, you know, Calamity Jane's personality, I think, is generally somewhat popular, but and I'm sure people don't mind the like showing a lot of skin, but that kind of like super flamboyant, colorful, you know, that there's a space for it, sure, but I'm so unsurprised that that didn't go over so great. And not only that, is, you know, she's an American character, so, you know, that's not gonna help either, really. Do I go ahead and switch out Hans? Probably not. I think I'd do that next turn. And it's not like I'm not happy that Calamity Jane is unpopular, because the only hope I have for her ever to have, like, you know, a costume that doesn't look like crap would be if she got a costume, right? But I'm pretty confident that she is never getting a costume because she's so unpopular. Yeah, I would agree. Edison is more of a meme than a husbando. Right, and especially we're talking like mainstream taste here, right? Anybody can waifu or husbando anything, right? Anybody can do that, right? But it's kind of like there's a really obvious difference in goal and design and appeal between like Edmund and Sigurd compared to like Babbage, right? It's not really the same thing, right? It's really not, right? It's, you know, Babbage is cool and all that, but Babbage isn't exactly designed to be a husbando, right? It's just not really that kind of thing. Same for Ivan, right? It's not, you know, not quite the same thing that they're going for with, you know, Arjuna or Karna or someone, right? You know, where they're handsome and everything, you know. Babbage is metal, right? And I don't mean like heavy metal. He's literally metal, right? So it's not quite the same. What would you say is the least popular male 4-star character? And up, leaving out Edison. Oh god, I mean, there's a lot, because I mean, there's a lot of male characters that kind of just never went anywhere in popularity. So if we're talking JP, I mean, Beowulf's up there, unfortunately. I mean, I think he got a little bit more popular since Lost Belt 1 and stuff, but Beowulf's never been very popular in Japan. A lot of the stuff I can think of is lower rarity. Like, I know, you know, Darius isn't very popular. Well, can I get Sanson to that? No, I guess I just shouldn't kill the 10k ones, because that just gives more actions to Drake here. Let me think. Let me look at the list of characters here. So it has to be a 4 or a 5-star. Gilgamesh, right? He's so unpopular, guys. Yeah, no, obviously not. He's still one of the most popular Fate characters. It's kind of wild, actually. I don't think Napoleon is all that popular in Japan. No, he's decently popular. He's definitely got a following. He's not like the most. He's no Gilgamesh, but he's got quite a following. Yeah, Blood Axe is pretty unknown. Dimia's up there. I would say Dimia is a pretty unpopular one, especially in Japan. That didn't take off. I've heard, from what I've seen, Romulus wasn't very popular either. Now he's kind of newer, so it's harder to gauge where he lands. But I have not. He does not. He's popular in NA, but from what I've seen, JP really does not care for Romulus much. Which this is an obvious sign of them having terrible taste. But like seriously, the only Grailed Romuluses I've seen have all been English players playing the Japanese servers and stuff. Yeah, he hasn't seemed to have been too popular. Yeah, Fion's kind of popular. He's really hated by a lot of people, but he's absolutely got a following, right? He absolutely does. Like I've seen plenty of Grail Fions, and he's got an okay amount of fan art and stuff. There's definitely that counter Fion circle that likes to shit on him, like absolutely. But he's definitely got a following. And Tristan's middle of the road. He's got a following too. Yeah, I'd say Romulus hasn't been too popular. I don't know about Odysseus, to be honest. I'm not sure if he went over well or not. I think he did. I tell you what, this is the doom sentence for male characters, and this goes beyond FGO. This goes for a lot of games. But like FGO's got a pretty sizable female player base. It's over 30%, right? That's very sizable. So this is what murders a male character. It's when their other men, the men playing the game, won't find them badass or cool, right? So if they don't have a badass or cool factor, so the guys don't like them, and then they have like no appeal to the female audience either. That is like just dead, right? Whenever they make a character like that, they are just dead in the goddamn water, right? Because like the guys normally like guy characters because they're badass or cool or something like that. And so if they don't have that and they're not appealing to the female player base for any reason, then they're just gone. Like they're just gone. Like they don't get anywhere. Like it just doesn't happen. How popular is Sigurd? He's very popular. There's a degree of people that dislike him because he stole my Brunhilde. Nice attitude champ, but regardless of that, he's still quite popular. Is New Kid popular? She's not that popular either, from what I've seen. I don't think anyone really hates her, but she kind of just goes under the radar, I think, pretty hard. Definitely more popular than Calamity Jane, though. But yeah, she's not super popular either. But she's got a following, right? It's nothing huge, but I mean, most of the characters in Fate end up being pretty popular. That's the thing. Most of the characters are pretty likable, and maybe they're not like, people aren't like losing their minds like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever, but they're generally pretty liked, right? Like for the most part. The most of the characters that I would say that are just like resident sleeper are bronzes and shit that they don't characterize like at all, and they just don't appeal to the mainstream very much, and they don't ever get any screen time, so they don't go anywhere. And then like Calamity Jane, right? Like it's pretty much that. It's stuff like Blood Axe, Darius, those kinds of things. They don't really get any screen time, and it's kind of a circle because they're not popular, so they don't give them screen time, and they're never going to get popular because they never get screen time. And then their designs are, I like their designs, but most people don't like those kinds of designs. They just find them kind of boring and whatnot. So most of the really unpopular stuff is definitely like your 1 to 3 star male characters that are more, I don't know, generic, and they never got much screen time. Those are the things that are really unpopular. Like Blood Axe. Blood Axe is incredibly unpopular. I did not realize there were a bunch of reinforcements in this level, but it doesn't really matter. I like how I'm not healing. I'm not healing the boy because he'd probably die in the next hit anyway. Wait, what happened? What happened in Arknights with Silver Ash? As far as I'm aware, Silver Ash is like the most popular thing ever, unless there's like some drama there. But like he was super fucking popular in Arknights. I mean, hell, I liked him. I thought he was pretty cool. It's not like my favorite character, but I thought he was pretty cool. Is Medea popular in JP? Not, I wouldn't really say popular, but she's not unpopular. And there definitely is a fan base for her, but you know, she's definitely one of the, like, it was like a joke back when it was more like just Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero and stuff. It was like a joke that she was the one female character that wasn't really that popular. Like that was literally a joke, like in universe even. But she has a following, right? She's significantly less popular than like Artoria and Rin and Medusa and all that. Like she's definitely not as popular as those, but she's not like hated or anything. Okay, people have to stop saying everything is simping, by the way. Like people, that word is so overused and to the point where it doesn't even mean anything anymore, and it's just dumb. Like that, I'm so tired of the internet's use of simp, and I get where it comes from, and like its original meaning, although I think was somewhat overly negative and still used badly sometimes. I get where it comes from and what they were talking about. Now, if you just like anything, you're simping for it. Like, just shut the fuck up, that's stupid. Like, grow up, Jesus Christ. Oh my god, that guy opened a door for a lady? What a simp. Like, are you kidding? Like, seriously, that is such, like, 12-year-old incel horseshit mentality. Like, it's so dumb. And it's just gotten to the point where anyone likes anything and they're simping, right? It's like you see somebody like, you know, give $5 to a stream and like, hey, I like your streams, they're great, it's a good time. Oh, what a simp, right? Like, can you believe these people give, because you see Reddit going on about this, right? Like, can you believe these people give money to streamers? It's just like, what is wrong with you? Now, I agree, you know, some streamers absolutely are like trying to, you know, target lonely people and stuff, and some people, you know, are giving money to things that make no sense. Sure, I get that, but like, it's just nonsense, like how over the top people are with that fucking word. And like, again, it had its place, right? It had its use, and then they started using it for everything, and so now now it's meaningless, right? You literally come off as like butthurt when you use it now, because instead of using it for things where it actually makes a degree of sense, it's just like, wow, this character's popular, and everyone's simping for this character. I'm too cool to simp for some popular character like Nero or something, right? Like, I don't like Nero, but literally every time I see people, like, every time I see anyone like Nero, I see people like, oh, look at all these Nero simps. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, it just shut the fuck up. Like, it's so dumb. And again, I fucking hate Nero. But I'm not such a moron that I think that everyone that happens to like a character is simping, right? Like, good God. I wish Saber Nero was in chat right now, by the way, but I think he's away. And now everyone's gonna use simp for everything now, right? And I knew that was gonna happen going into this rant, but you know, I was well aware of this, but that is how the internet is. All right, what are we doing here? Funly assassins. How do people even like Nero in CCC compared to Extra? I don't even know. I've actually never seen Nero's story in CCC. I've only bothered with the Gilgamesh one because the other ones are you know, heathens. But like for real, some people really do have like an unhealthy mindset towards streams and like, you know, almost like parasitic relationships and that kind of thing. And you have streamers that are like targeting that kind of mindset, right? And that's bad. And I you know, I really get that. But that is not, it's not the majority of people in the world. Like, dear God. We need more canonical appearances of Hans, so we get him roasting more people. Like, that's some good shit. Draw a quick card. I think there's a lot. First off, I think a big part of why everyone goes with Gil in CCC is because he wasn't playable in the other game, and that was also the first time you got to see Gil from that perspective, right? So that it was so different. A lot of the other stories are kind of, we've seen this, right? We've already seen loads of Emiya, right? And not just from Fate Extra, but from just Unlimited Blade Works and Fate and all that, right? So we've had loads of Emiya anyway, and then you also had Fate Extra, so it's like, it was a lot more unique to have, you know, Gil on the, like, the protagonist side of things. And it is also, he's like literally the only character that makes sense that he actually accomplishes the things you accomplish and all that stuff. And then Gilgamesh is ungodly popular, so. Yeah, I know, I'd like to see regular Hans. I just want to see regular Hans used. But for some reason, he just, like, I've ranted about this before. You know, they just get stuck on memes, and they have to have Hans show up like this all the time because of the Kiara stuff, and then, like, they just always want to reference that because that's what people know him from, so they just keep doing that forever, and it's dumb. I probably should have done Hans's NP last turn, but I guess we just don't Hans NP and we bring in Mozart. That seems so wasteful, though. My burst damage, though. You know what I should have done is I shouldn't have even used Geronimo's stuff. I should have just done just Shiba this turn. That's what and then the next turn I could have switched and then brought in Mozart. That would have been better. Well, let's see what they get done here though. Yeah, I really should level him to 80 at some point. And we got so off topic. We're talking about unpopular things. That was a pretty interesting conversation we had there. I'm not sure Geronimo is going to kill this guy. I got him. Okay. That's decent. Geronimo's another unpopular character, unfortunately. Alright, what kind of damage are we gonna see here, Chad? He's got a crit buff, he's got Buster up, he's got attack up. It's not great. Although, to be fair, I haven't actually leveled his first skill, so... Yeah, he's got his upgraded NP, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, most Fate characters are pretty popular. Like, it's just a handful that I would say are unpopular. Also, the internet at large is really susceptible to just screen time. Literally give enough screen time to anyone and they'll get popular enough. A lot of people aren't going to go out and like read bios and character material books and that kind of shit. So there might be a character out there that's like about certain themes or whatever that they would actually really like and enjoy, but they never even learn about it. So until it's like in an anime or like right in their goddamn face, they're never going to be exposed to it. So like anytime you see like a popular like magazine in Japan do like an anime popularity poll, all the top stuff is from really recent anime. Always, right? It's just like people are fucking monkeys like that, right? And then like, you know, months later or a year later when they do it again, it's then whatever is the next, you know, most recent stuff. Only a few like lingering things will actually carry on over the years. You know, people are very influenced by what's in front of them, right? Like it rarely do, you know, things that they've kind of forgotten about maintain their popularity. That's how people are for the most part. You know, the new toy effect is very powerful on a lot of people. Yeah, Arjun has definitely gotten more popular as the years have gone on. Very much so. Even I used to not really like him, and now I like him, so... I was converted. I think a lot of people, it's like... This is why I think Arjuna was not popular initially, and this is why I didn't like him. So... everyone knew him initially as just that guy that screwed over Karna, and he's kind of spoiled, right? That's pretty much what everyone knew him as. And then he didn't get much screen time, and what little screen time he had, he was a dick. And ain't nobody got time to actually read his bio and his backstory, and you know his character. No one actually read his character material book, and nobody, like 2 guys did, right? But then he actually started to be used a bit more, and that got people interested enough to actually read his stuff. And then you have people like I Love Arjuna sharing the gospel, right? And just over time, I think people got, you know, like, oh, he's actually kind of an interesting character. You know, he's not just that guy that screwed over Karna, right? So he's just slowly gotten more popular over time. So like, I've very much seen that, just him getting a bit more popular. He's not like super omega popular, but he's decently popular. I mean, Native American history is decently known in like America, right? It's a pretty, you know, it's something I think a lot of people are interested on this side of the lake. But elsewhere in the world, not so much, especially in Japan. I don't think Japan even knows really anything about... I think the average Japanese person knows absolutely nothing about the Native Americans, right? Like, the tribes. Like, they know fuck all. So there's no real interest there. Yeah, I actually like Geronimo quite a bit in F-Go. Thankfully, when they do bother to write him, they actually put a decent amount of effort into him, right? Not like the most ever, but like when he shows up in people's interludes and things like that, they've done a decent job with him. You know, they've characterized him all right. I don't think very many people see that characterization or care anyway, but yeah, he's, you know, I'm really proud when writers do that though. Is like when there's something unpopular and they still put in the effort to write them well and respect what they're based on and that kind of thing, right? Not. It's so easy to just cave to whatever's popular and put all your effort and thought into what's popular, and then just like throw everything else in the garbage and not putting the effort into it. That's shit writing though. Like that's shit writing. And also a lot of things will never become popular if you don't put any effort into it. And somebody, even though Blood Axe isn't that popular, there are people that like Blood Axe, right? And you don't want to be one of those 10 guys that likes Blood Axe, and then every time Blood Axe gets used, it's crap, right? That makes people, it doesn't feel great. Unfortunately, that's where Blood Axe is for the most part. He's had like one interesting scene ever. That background looks amazing, by the way. Honestly, Agartha's got really cool, like, geography. Like, the whole, like, it's like underground, but like, you know, really lush, if you will, right? Like, it's a really interesting kind of setting they have. A lot of the ideas in this story are fine. The execution is ungodly terrible, and like, there's just so many things wrong with this story. Like, it's one of the worst stories, but you know, like the whole premise could have been all right, but oh my god, and like all the exposition, and there's all this like gimmicky crap, and then more exposition, and just the repeated memes over and over again. Like, oh god, I don't know what they were doing. Like, I don't know what they were doing. Like, it's just bad. It is so fucking slow in the beginning. It's slow throughout the whole goddamn thing, though. I mean, it's just like, literally, every time Fergus does anything, they just have to be, you know, on the same goddamn jokes over and over again. I'm like, guys, stop. Like, it's crazy. The few things I like about it, it's like, you know, Wu getting smacked by Herc was kind of great. You know, Pim's got some cool moments. There's a few good fights. You know, Columbus is really cool. You know, again, the geography is really interesting and whatnot. Like, you know, like, but oh my god, there's just like, okay. And here's the thing. I think something I really think is bad about it, and I don't know. Like, I see this done a lot. It's such a lazy way to write. So like the whole shtick is like, you know, a lot of females leaders, right? That's like the, you know, that's like the premise here. And they handled that in the most boring way on the planet, right? And it's because they didn't want to put, it's like they didn't have the time to actually write anything, right? It's like, yep, all the women are just crazy tyrants and they hate men, and there you go. And that's fine if you want to have like some of them act that way, right? But like, literally, and all the characters are warped, right? In the singularity, all the characters are warped, and they're not behaving like they normally would behave, and that's fine. You know, that's how Camelot was. It's not like that, but like they're all warped in like the same way, and it's boring as fuck. Like, are you kidding me? Right? Like, literally it's so one note. The whole goddamn story is so fucking one note, right? It's just like it gets so old so fast, and like, because all of them are the same, none of them stand out. Like, it's stupid. And like when you look at how they've characterized, you know, Thickcaster and Pynth and stuff outside of Agartha, like how they've been characterized, and even Wu, for God's sakes, you know, how they're characterized in like their interludes and other stories and stuff. They're fine, right? And they're a lot more interesting, and you know, they're not so one note. They're not really one note at all. But like they're not warped in those, right? So, but that's such a boring like way to handle the premise. It's like, yep, all the women are just man-hating morons, and they're all the same, right? It's like, okay, that's great. Like there's just nothing there. There's literally nothing there. Like there's no substance. Like instead of like having, you know, actual characters and motivations and seeing how these things, you know, play out, it's like, no, it's just the same thing. And like it's fine if they wanted one of the factions to be like full-on man-hating, that's fine, right? That it's not like you can't, you know, tackle that concept. That's okay. But it's all of them, and it's generic, and nothing happens with it, right? Like it's like, what's the point? Like it's so gimmicky. Like this is the most gimmicky story in my opinion. Even though, like I said, the premise you could actually do something interesting with. It ends up being really gimmicky and repetitive. And then, never mind that, it's just exposition everywhere, right? Like, you know, you can have some stories that are more, you know, schlocky if you want, and they can still be enjoyable. But this story is literally exposition dump. Like I was so shocked by that. You know, I was expecting all like the man hating, like, you know, femdom nonsense, right? I was kind of, you know, I expected it to be like a hentai, right? That's kind of what I thought the story was going to be, but it was actually exposition, right? Like it just, I was so blown away when I was trying to read this fucking story, because I was just like, what is wrong with them? Like it's just exposition over and over, Fergus jokes over and over, trap jokes over and over. I can't believe Fergus is gonna grow up to be Fergus. I'm so scared of women, and I work out every day, and blah 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 blah. And then the villain characters are just so one-notey over and over again. And so it's like it's just this mixture of like a bad hentai plot, but it's not actually that. It's actually exposition, right? So it's like, holy crap, right? It's not good. It's not good, right? It's really not good. And it actively made a lot of people dislike a lot of the characters that weren't even like outside of the story. They don't even behave that way, right? So it was like such a shame. Like I've seen so many people be like oh, hey, Thickcaster's actually kind of an interesting character, right? But like if I only saw her off of Agartha, I never would have thought that, right? I was like that's such a thing. Columbus was pretty good though. I did, you know, there was some okay stuff with Columbus, so the pacing wasn't the best, but and like, oh god, like I said, making all the factions being the same, right? It was almost like Flavor. They all were just like psychos and you know, using men as, you know, meat, basically. All of them, like literally all of them, right? So it's just like, what's the point of having all these factions, right? If they're all gonna behave the same way, like I just don't get it. Okay, here's the thing. A lot of the characters that they were based on, and like you know, aren't man-hating, right, at all. But they're warped in Agartha. That's the thing. But like that was really boring and, you know, bad. Like it's fine if they wanted all the leaders to be female. That's fine. Right, and all the factions to be mostly female, that's fine. But you don't have them all behave the same way and have the same motivation and blah 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 blah. That's so fucking pointless. Your master is dead. I don't know, I thought that would fix itself, but it's not. So yeah, I don't know what the deal with that is, to be honest. Like Pynth in most of the actual stories and stuff is not man-hating, like at all, right? She works with Hector and everything, right? That's like they're not. The Amazons come to the aid of the Trojans, right? Which was most, you know, all the guys they were fighting with were all dudes, right? And there was no problem there. And there's just nothing nothing from that stuff even suggests such a thing, right? And they don't have, outside of Agartha, they don't have Penth be even remotely have any problem with men in general, right? It's just she doesn't like Hercules and Achilles specifically, right? And there's a good reason for that, right? That's a whole different thing. Well, singularities often are warped anyway, that's why they're singularities, but yeah, Fitcaster, like, warped a lot of stuff. Most everyone's Saint Graph and whatnot got, like, altered and stuff. Also, now, as far as I'm aware, my knowledge on this is, like, 5 or 6 years old, right? I haven't looked into a lot of the more Greek-relevant, history stuff in a long time. But last I was aware, the Amazons from like Greek mythology were probably based on an actual group of people on this like island. Now we don't know that. The only reason we think that's what they're based on is because it's literally the only reference we have. There's just no reference to anything else that the Amazons could be based on. Now that doesn't mean something else didn't exist. It could have just been lost to time. That happens, frequently. But there was like this one historian that did take note of this one island that had like the people there, like the women did fight, but it wasn't like their women were their only warriors. They had warriors of both genders, and that was rare, right? And so they took note of the fact that they had a lot of female warriors, but they had men warriors too, right? That is probably what the Amazons were based on, but we absolutely don't know. There's no hard evidence that really links it. It's just speculation, and there's really no hard evidence that's just what the fuck they're linked to. But yeah, so in reality, if that is what they're based on, obviously they weren't man-hating because it wasn't like they were, women only. It was just that they did have women fighting and stuff, which was abnormal. I'm having trouble keeping up with chat. There's like tense conversations going on here right now. Oh god, Prismilia. That's a thing. I was just talking about that. No, the Amazons are not really man-hating, and I mean it depends. The Amazons were portrayed by a lot of different writers and whatnot throughout history, and they were portrayed in different ways. But generally, no. And the most famous thing that they're from is the Iliad, and they absolutely are not man-hating in that. They're actually coming to the aid of a lot of guys, right? Like they're just. Not at all. That's not even mentioned. There's nothing even like that. But again, it's not like Fate was actually trying to imply that, because outside of Agartha, Penth isn't like that either, right? Like, that's not a thing. What the fuck? Why did I just cast his Buster up? He doesn't even have a Buster card right now. Feels bad. Also, I think he's the only one that got NP sealed, right? I hope so, otherwise I am wasting a lot of abilities. I really wish they would give her an upgraded NP. That would be swell. I don't really think Prismilia has a better story than Agartha, I'm not gonna lie. I think certain aspects of it maybe, but overall I think there's a lot wrong with that too, but I'm not gonna go into that this stream. God, I think people are gonna hate the gimmick in Lost Belt 3. I think that's gonna drive that. I mean, for like stronger accounts, it doesn't even really matter. But oh my god, like the whole poisoned Mystic Code thing is pretty awful. That whole gimmick with you being weaker barely even mattered because all the enemies were weaker relative to you, so literally nothing changed. Right? Like they just gave the enemies the health and attacks that made the X difficulty that they wanted, right? So it didn't really matter. here's the thing. The problem with the Prism Ilya stuff is not just the fan service. That is absolutely not the main problem with the story, in my opinion. Now, I don't like the fan service, obviously, and I think sexualizing kids is a terrible idea. Then it was like, oh, but this one's not a kid, but they're drawn to be a kid, right? That's what they're appealing to, right? Obviously. I'm absolutely not a fan of that. But the plot, I do not think is very good at all, and it's rather inconsistent and not very, you know, coherent with, like, the rest of the Nasu-verse. And, like, the whole, like, class card nonsense, all that's, I mean, it's just, there's so much that I don't think is good there. And, like, there's so much contrived bullshit to make literally whatever they want to be relevant, right? Now, granted, they're not the only story that does that by any means. But that's never a good thing. That's not a plus in my book. Like, the whole premise of that anime is very contrived. Now, a story is contrived to begin with, but the whole point is to try to make it not seem contrived, right? And Prism Ilya is just so fucking contrived, because, like, they're forcing the premise really hard. Wow, I'm surprised we're already this far in. I guess Agartha's not actually that long, though. And, you know, Fate can be pretty guilty in general of putting the cart before the horse, right? But I never like it when they do that, right? I'm very consistent about that. It's not like Prism Ilya is the only thing that does that kind of thing. Well, first off, you're not really helpless in Salem at all. I mean, you're not as strong as usual, obviously, but I don't think you're really helpless. And everything around you is weaker too, so, I mean, literally nothing changes. Also, we didn't beat Guadia. Romani did. Like, we are not that powerful. That has been consistent throughout all of FGO. The player character is not very powerful. And never has been, right? So just because we were involved in the whole Guadia incident doesn't mean, oh my god, guys, we got a 30-foot schlong, and how dare anyone stand to oppose us? How you know, it's not like that. It's not like where you have like because there are some game series and anime or whatever, we have a main character that kind of earns their stripes, right? And then they kind of just artificially take that away from them to have them be weak again, and it feels really forced. That's not how the main character is in FGO. I mean, you're never that powerful to begin with. You're mostly relying on other people to do things. You know, you're a pretty incompetent Magus for the most part. You know, Romani did basically everything in the Guadia Singularity. We just, you know, finished off someone that was gonna die anyway. Like, wow! Good, you killed a dying guy! Woo! Real badass of you there. So, yeah, I mean, we never really earned much to begin with. Like, if we didn't have our servants, we would be beyond fucked in, you know, every scenario. Like, not even close. Like, even and masters are generally weaker, right? But, like, even by mastered standards, we're really weak. Well, I mean, Kid Gil, you know, is still Gil, and then, you know, Angelica has Gil's class card, right? That's like the whole point, is like you get infused by their stuff and whatnot. That's why she's one of like the only other people that can use Aya's, because she's basically, you know, is Gilgamesh, you know, in a way, right? It's like, that's like the whole thing. Which is dumb, but don't get me started. It's fine, we have someone's level 100 max spawn Hercules to bail us out. Hey, I'm making one of my own here. Just gotta get that bond up. Please tell me Hercules is in my back row right now. I'm pretty sure he is. Been pretty zoned out this stream. Yeah, okay. Our boy's there. Guys, if we dress Hercules in drag, do we get the bonus bond bonus? Yes, yeah, I wish.
切り札を出すべきか精霊よ今ひととき我にその大いなる痛サゴデジになれや
Her version of Aya is much weaker than Gil's though, because she has less treasure and she's physically weaker, and Aya actually is stronger based on their user like that, which is pretty whack, but and then their excuse for why Kid Gil's Aya is much weaker. They have like some throwaway line about it. It was like because he was half incarnated or something. I don't remember. They have like a throwaway line to explain why his Aya is so much weaker, and it was like it's something to do with like, you know, oh well, that was like the best I could muster with only being half incarnated or something. I don't remember exactly. Did she do 19k? I need to NP the 69k one. This is awkward.
ではこれをさてどのバッハがお好みかな
That's a weird turn. Basically, they needed Ilya to win, and so they had, you know, and obviously it's impossible for her to win against Aya, so they had to just, you know, make something up to explain it. Welcome to Fate, by the way. That's why there's a reason the few Fate stories that I really like are the ones at the R's, because they're the ones that don't do that kind of thing. Although, you know, Fate Strange Fake, although I do really like, it does have its share of bullshit, right? It's definitely done better about that stuff. They haven't, like, you know, retconned anything. They haven't had something, like, do something that's not supposed to do. But they contrived several things. Like, they just made up, you know, like the, you know, fucking Flat and Jack, you know, work really hard to get, you know, Hydra poison Hercules in the face, right? And then it just doesn't work because now Angra Juice destroys poison for some reason, right? They just made that up, right? They literally made that up to have Avenger Hercules not die there, right? Like, nothing with Angra Juice prior has ever implied such a thing. Like, that doesn't make any sense. What would that curse have any interaction with Venom for, right? That doesn't, why, right? And the reason is because they needed it to. Right, that's why. At least, though, it's not like something prior had ever been like, yep, because no one has ever been poisoned that happened to be altered before, right? That's never happened. So, for instance, let's say Saber Alter in Heaven's Feel got poisoned by someone and died, right? Then having it work to save Hercules Avenger would be really stupid, right? That'd be really fucking stupid. Even if you're like, oh well, Avengers Hercules was exposed to more, and so he's got, you know, like you could that's still bullshit, right? Like you're obviously just making that up on the fly. At least so they're not having to do something like that, right? But it's still bullshit, right? They're still just making some, you know, new thing up for Angra Juice that it never have, you know, been even implied to have done before, right? But for the most part, Fate Strange Fake has been good about not putting the cart before the horse. There's been a little bit of that, but very little. And then Fate Zero doesn't really do anything. The only stuff like with that in Fate Zero is kind of with like Assassin, and that's kind of because Fate Stay Night had already dictated that Assassin had to be the first one to die. And so they're not, at no point were they ever used in any meaningful way, and they never took advantage of their ability at all, right? Like, and they had so many opportunities to kill enemy masters, but they just didn't, just because. But other than that, I think Fate Zero did pretty well with that kind of stuff. Angra Juice does whatever the fuck it wants, apparently. No, Natsu is so open about like being bad with continuity and plot armor and stuff. I've had people on Reddit, of course, like, call me out and try to act like, you know, I'm just making this up, but this is absolutely a thing. You know, you got like, I think it's the Fate Zero character material book where he basically has like, you know, oh yeah, Gilgamesh couldn't win in Fate Stay Night because it's, you know, a Love Conquers All story, so, you know, it can't happen. But, you know, it's like, yeah, but Gilgamesh could have killed everyone in a single night. And he was like, yeah, in Fate Zero, there's no such restraints on the story, so we were able to show off Gilgamesh, you know, at a more powerful state. He flat out says that. It's not hard to find. Like, you can, I think it's on the wiki even, for God's sakes. It's in the Fate. I'm pretty sure it's the Fate Zero character material book. And then you've got an interview at the end of one of the Fate Strange Fake books, where you've got the writer of those books and Nasu talking and stuff, where you know, the writer's being all like, I try to stay, you know, true to, like, and explain things in continuity with the character material books and everything, and then Nasu's like, fuck it, you just make it up as you go, it's fine. So it's like, I mean, he's so open about that stuff, and he straight up said, like, he focuses more on characterization and not plot stuff, right? Like, it's more about, he wants to focus on certain characters and just kind of make it so he gets to focus on those characters. And that's fine, that's the thing. I don't like that kind of storytelling, but that's fine. That's not like some sin. It's not like, oh my god, guys, get the pitchforks, right? That's just the way he likes to do things. And if that's what he likes, that's what he likes. Good for him, right? And obviously his characters are very popular, so it's working just fine for him. That's not my personal, you know, favorite kind of storytelling. But the issue I have is when you have people like defending his works like they're completely logically consistent, and that like everything that happens in them is super consistent with, you know, the rules that have been established and everything. They blatantly are not, right? Assassin Herc with nunchucks. I really do want to see Assassin Hercules. I'm gonna BRB real quick. I gotta get more water. I'm gonna run to the restroom too and all that. So give me a second. I mean, a lot of writers are like that. A lot of writers are like that because it's a lot easier. Alright, I'm back. But yeah, I want to get back more into like more specific stuff, topics, you know, like unpopular characters. That was really fun. But long story short, most storytelling, just period, if continuity gets in your way, you just change it or bullshit it, right? Look at Star Wars, World of Warcraft, Warhammer, any like, you know, long-running IP. Like, if their new movie or new book or whatever, they've got like their bad guy they want to focus on, the themes they want to focus on. If some other thing in the universe would get in the way of that, they're just gonna scuff it, right? It's like, okay, we got this new bad guy and we need the story to take place on this planet. So anything that would get in the way of that is just not, right? It's like, it's gonna take place on this planet, and this guy's gonna be the main bad guy, right? So anything in the way of that just gets, you know, plot slapped. What is the most popular 4-star or 5-star male server? Definitely Gilgamesh. Like, no question. Like, Jesus. Gil was pretty popular from the beginning, right? When it was just Fate Stay Night, nothing else. You know, that was all there was to the Fate franchise, was just Fate Stay Night. Gil was pretty freaking popular, right? Definitely not as popular as he was today, and back then he wasn't like the most popular male character, but he was like, yeah, wow, he's pretty popular. And then, oh my god, then he, you know, I remember he got so much more popular with Fate Zero, and then he got way more popular with CCC. That was a, good lord, that was a popularity boost. Because they saw him as like, you know, they saw him, like why he was doing what he was doing, and like how he's not really a bad guy and all that kind of stuff. And you saw him in a more like natural setting. He got way more popular after that. And then F-Go just got way more people into Fate in the first place, so then Gil got a lot of attention because he already had so much, like, material. And then he's been used quite a bit in F-Go and gotten even more popular because of that. And he's done a lot of anime, and then you have Fate Strange Fake, and then he's crazy popular from that too. So it's just like loads of screen time. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons I think he's popular. So one, just loads of screen time. Obviously, that's a big one. He's got a lot of screen time, and his characters, you know, like him or not, you can't say his character is not fleshed out. It's very fleshed out. You know, he's a very three-dimensional character, and they've covered, you know, that pretty well in like Fate Zero and CCC and all this stuff, right? So fleshed out character, pretty interesting. Some people don't like him, obviously, but you know, there's a lot to his character. And then, you know, obviously he's handsome. That doesn't hurt. And then he's really powerful, right? And he's like really cool. A lot of people think he's like really, you know, bad. I mean, I think he's cool, right? Like so. He's got the cool factor. He's got the handsome factor. He's got the characterization and screen time factor. There's a lot in his favor. And yeah, his voice actor's like god tier. So it's just, there's so many things in his favor, right? Looks good, OP as fuck, really cool abilities, loads of screen time, not a one-dimensional character at all. So yeah, crazy popular, right? Who's the second most popular? That's hard to say. There's, you know, a lot of popular stuff out there. Amio's up there? I'm not sure he's second though. He is up there. Amio's definitely up there. Let me think. Ku is up there too. Ku's super fucking popular. Both Ku and Emi are both really fucking popular. Karna's up there. Karna's not as popular as Emi or Ku though, I don't think. Achilles is really up there. Achilles is really popular. Edmund's up there. Jesus Christ, Edmund is up there. Like, he is really fucking popular. But because he's only in F-Go, though, I think that definitely... Oh my god, is Kandar. That's a good one, actually. I think in F-Go, he's not as popular, just because, like, he's not as good and stuff. But to the Fate franchise at large, Kandar is really fucking popular. So, Ku is in a weird spot, because no one dislikes him, really. So when they do like those, you know, hurt heal style competitions, Ku always wins. And he normally gets banned from them because he's popular enough that a lot of people vote for him. And when everyone else, when like their favorite character gets killed, right? And so now they have to vote for someone. Almost so many people will go to Ku, right? After like their top waifu gets killed, everyone, their mother starts voting for Ku. And because no one just really dislikes him. So Ku is really popular, but he's not like everyone's favorite character, but he's basically a really liked character by everyone ever. So Ku is super fucking popular. That's true, Ku is not a 4 or 5 star. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, there is, I guess, Ku Alter, but that's not Ku, so that's a different character entirely. He's also legitimately not as popular. Yeah, I think it's probably Iskander, Edmund, or Emiya, I would say, off the top of my head. I mean, there's a lot of characters out there nowadays. I think to the Fate franchise as a whole, I think it's probably Iskander, honestly. He is crazy fucking popular. But I think Emiya is definitely up there, like, big time. But yeah, definitely an honorable mention to Karno, but he's not in a lot of stuff, and APOC wasn't really liked. So that really hurts him, but he is still popular. No, legit, it's not like, when people say Ku Alter's not a Ku, that's not like them not giving him their seal of approval. He is legitimately not Ku. That's canonical. He is not Ku. He is just a made-up person by the Grail, from Mev's wish, right? Like, he's literally Mev fanfiction that was made by the Grail, right? Much like how Jalter's not actually Joan of Arc and that kind of thing. Alright, what's going on here? Moriarty is cool, and I really like him, but he's not that popular. He's popular, but he's not even close to something like... Now, Arthur's up there, and I'll say this. You know what? Everyone says Arthur's just like the female, you know, Prince Charming. And sure, he's definitely got that following too, but I'm telling you, that is not the majority of Arthur fans. It's not. And I know this because I'm a huge Arthur fan, and my friend Kai is. and I've interacted with that community a lot. Arthur's fans are overwhelmingly male, I would say. There's plenty of female fans too. I'd say there's a lot of both, but he has a lot of male fans, and I have a theory of why that is. A few reasons I think why that is. But so Arthur is super popular, but because he's not actually in fucking anything, I don't think he's reached much of an audience compared to like Iskandar and Emiya and Gilgamesh and all that. So I think he's definitely behind those. But if let's say they make Freight Prototype an anime. Now, let's be real, let's be realistic. They're probably not going to make Freight Prototype. They'll make Freight Prototype Silver Fragments or Blue Fragments or whatever, right? They'll probably make that first. And if that's well received and people like it and it's really popular and it's viewed by a lot of people, I think Arthur could definitely be really high on the totem pole. But we'll just have to see. But so I think there's a lot of reasons I think Arthur is popular, but I'm gonna go into why the main reasons, especially why he's so many male fans, right? So one, again, handsome guy, not bad looking. That definitely doesn't hurt. But he's just got like cool armor, right? So like a lot of men and women like that, right? Generally, people act like it's generic, but generally that kind of Arthur type character is popular. The kind of stoic's not quite the right word. It's a bit too strong for it, but that kind of kingly leader type. That actually is generally pretty popular. But so okay, this is a big one, and this really is a big one. This is even applicable to me to a degree, although I definitely like him for more reasons than this. But this is definitely part of it. So you had, I don't think anyone would dispute this, the Legends of King Arthur are some of the most popular legends, just period, right? It's not a rare thing that a lot of people grew up and read those stories and really like them. It's not rare that somebody likes the Legend of King Arthur, right? This is not rare at all. Now, it might be somewhat rare in the weeb community, but in terms of just people, it's very common. And even in the weeb community, there's plenty of crossover there. A lot of people know the Legends of King Arthur and like them, right? And a lot of people, myself included, weren't exactly happy that the gender-bent Arthur, right? Now, obviously, Artoria is kind of her own character. She's not actually Arthur, right? Blah, 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 blah. But the representative for that, originally was Artoria, right? A lot of people were kind of like, really? I know so many people that feel that way. I could not even listen. I know so many people that were just like, yeah, I really like The Legend of King Arthur. I like anime. I like the whole concept of Fate. Really wish we had just gotten regular King Arthur. I know so many people that feel that way. And then so when Arthur actually gets more actualized, right, instead of just being in the character material book, a lot of people are like, oh my god, we finally have just regular King Arthur. I think a lot of people were happy about that. I know I was. I know Kai was. I know my friend Kath was. I know countless people on YouTube that have said the exact same thing. A lot of people were a fan of that, right? And then, oh, hey, look, he's also got cool armor. He's got some, interesting characterization. He's not bad looking, right? So, it kind of works out. I agree with you, Arjuna. I've always said that at least Artoria is one of the few gender bins that they weren't lazy with it. They weren't just like, you know what, fuck it, Nero has tits, right? They didn't do that. They actually put effort into it. She's not even Arthur. Literally, Artoria is not Arthur. She's someone else, right? It's not like, oh, but she just lied to everyone and acts like her name is Arthur and right? Her name's Artoria, right? Or Altria, depending on your localization. And also, they had a lot of characterization with her that was like relevant to her being the person that she is and that kind of thing. She's not just randomly, she's not Nero but with tits, right? Like, so I'm not as annoyed with the way they gender bent her. They put effort into it, and then they actually made Arthur and everything. But still, initially, when we just had Artoria and Fates and Night and everything, I didn't hate her character, but I was like, I really wish we just had Arthur instead, right? That's how I felt, like 100%. But we actually got Arthur, so it's okay now, right? So that a lot of people like Arthur for that, like for sure. Fucking Altria, man. When we started. Because, and plenty of people still like Artoria, right? It's not like, oh my god, I can't like Artoria, right? But, because I remember when I first watched Fate Stay Night, right? I remember like, yeah, I don't mind this character, and the voice actress does a good job, and and you know, there's like a character here, and that's fine, but my god, I wish this was just Arthur instead. I'm like, why? But then because we did get Arthur instead on top of it, then it's like, okay, it's not so bad. But that makes you like Arthur a lot, right? Because you wanted just regular old King Arthur, then oh hey, look, we got regular old King Arthur. Oh my god, I know the way they spelled Medusa. That shit was amazing. Imagine if they had made them spell it that way in FGO. I hate Altria too, because then you've got Attila's dumbass nickname, and then it's awful. Like, it's so confusing and obnoxious. Like, why did they do this to us? You know, Kojiro is pretty popular, but he's not super popular. He's not even close to like, you know, Emiya and Ku and Gilgamesh and all that, which is unfortunate, because actually, Kojiro is one of my absolute favorite Fate characters, but he's not as popular. So yeah, I think they eventually fixed Medusa, because yes, there's like an official translation for the name. Obviously, the name is originally in Greek, so it's a bit different. But you know, Artoria is a made-up character and name, so they want it to be Artoria. That's the thing, because like the way they say it is Artoria. The problem is Japanese generally do not understand L's and R's very well and how they work in the English language. So they think Altria is Artoria. That's what they think. Because they say Artoria. When you hear the voice actors say it and other characters say it, they always say Artoria. But they spell it Altria for some fucking reason. Even though they spelled it both ways, but... Dude, they're terrible with names. Like with the way they do Eskandar, which is supposed to, you know, it's just another way of spelling Alexander. And then, you know, Hercules and Heracles, and well, it's a complete mess. Like, it's a complete mess. And that's what ultimately, this is why I don't get mad at people over pronunciation, because, you know, it doesn't matter, and there is a million ways to spell these things, and there is a million ways to pronounce these things, and they've been pronounced and spelled so many ways throughout time, and a lot of languages are dead languages, so we actually don't know how they're supposed to be pronounced and stuff, so I don't even care. Now, that being said, it's so weird when you have companies being like very inconsistent or obnoxious with spelling. And what my whole thing is intent, right? It's like, if they want it to be Artoria, that's fine. I have no problem with that. If they want it to be Altria, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But you have to be consistent, right? Pick one. They want it to be Artoria. Their lack of understanding of the English language is the reason why they want it to be spelled Altria, right? And that's why it's really dumb to me. And then also, on a more subjective level, I think Altria is a really stupid name, and I don't like it, right? But if they want it to be said that way, I don't care, but they obviously don't. Well, actually, generally, you may not see it, because most people don't look into these things. There's generally disagreements about how you pronounce basically everything ever in every language ever. It's out there, right? When you look at like historians and people that really are into language and those circles and stuff, because a lot of people just take things for granted, and this goes for historians and shit too. A lot of people, whatever the norm is, they kind of just accept it and that's what it is, and they don't really think about, well, where does this come from? And then they might look into where it comes from, but where did that come from? Like, and because ultimately, and a lot of people don't want to accept this, a lot of linguists and historians don't want to accept this, but this is just a fact. This is not an opinion. This is a fucking fact. We don't know where almost anything comes from, because we have not been documenting history well enough. Almost all language we don't actually know the origin of, because it goes back too far and we don't got it, right? Language started with, you know, fucking pointing at rocks and grunting, right? And then it's not like it went from that and someone snapped their fingers and all of a sudden we were articulating these complicated words. That didn't happen, right? It was a constant evolution from, you know, pointing and grunting and then getting more and more complicated as generations went on, right? And you have all these, like, you know, and then you have all these different dialects forming in different regions, and those are influencing each other, and it's so complicated, it's ridiculous, right? And anyone that acts like they actually know the origin of a word is full of shit. We don't, because it all dates back to like caveman grunting bullshit. So of course we don't know the origin of most of these things, right? Now you can find like, you know, some origin to it, but you're not going to be able to go all the way back the tree. And so many ancient languages are lost that there's just we're never going to know. And then we've always had dialects, always. You know, we act like there's only I hate this about like a lot of linguists and stuff, people that are like really into language, is the only except like modern dialects for some fucking reason, and they act like the ancient world only had one dialect and it's got to be said this way because that's how they said it back in the day, and so that's the proper pronunciation. First off, we don't know how they said it back in the day, and they had multiple dialects back then too. So it's just stupid. Like it's such a like a misunderstanding of how language operates, right? Like the reason you have people in the north speaking differently from the people in the south is just the natural evolution of how people pronunciate things, right? And that happens on a much grander scale throughout time. And then you have people trying to tell you how you're supposed to say it this way, right? Like never mind accents and dialect and any of that stuff. It's like, oh, you don't have an official dialect, so you're not allowed to pronounce it this way. Like, where do you think that pronunciation comes from, right? Like you'll have someone in a certain dialect pronounce a word differently. Like people in Australia say things generally differently than how they would say it in England, right? And it's like, oh, well, this is acceptable because it falls in the boundaries of how Australians are supposed to say it, so you're allowed to say it this way and in this way, but you can't say it this other way, right? I don't care that your parents are Australian and then you moved between the States and Australia, so you have a really bizarre accent. No, you don't have a proper Australian accent, so you're not allowed to pronounce it that way, right? Like, fuck off. That's not how language works. Why do you think you got these distinct ways to pronounce the same words in the first place? Because people just slowly started pronouncing things differently. There's no official canon to any of this, right? It's just stuff blows my mind because you have the majority of the human species acting like there's like some language deity in the sky, saying how things are supposed to be pronounced, right? I mean, that's not how language works, right? It's just made up sounds that we literally pulled out of our asses to articulate our meaning, right? That's it. That's all it is, right? And it constantly changes, and that's fine. Like, relax, for God's sakes. And like when you look at like a lot of languages that are dead or that had a lot of dialects originally and a lot of stuff wasn't documented, like you have like, pre-Christian Irish stuff and all this stuff, no one fucking agrees on how to pronounce this stuff. The general mainstream will come to a consensus, sure, but there's no actual like, oh yeah, this is the word. That doesn't exist. Yeah, I have like a real passion for this, as you probably noticed over the years, but it drives me crazy because I have to deal with like 90% of humanity acting like, language is this like sacred, etched in stone thing, when it's like, if that's what it was, we never would have been able, we would still be pointing and grunting, right? If the first words we ever came up with were just like, that's it, that you got this forever, and you're not allowed to start slowly customizing it and slurring and combining, and I can't do any of that, then we would never get anywhere. Like, all this sloppy shit that people hate, and like mispronunciations and misunderstandings, if it wasn't for those things, we wouldn't have language! Like, what is wrong with you? That's like the backbone of how language develops. We have your, because people didn't want to say you are, right? Like, that's where it comes from. Like, we have so much of language comes from people literally mispronouncing things or not understanding things or just making shit up. Like, like the whole English language is mostly that. And then you have people trying to act like, no, you got to say it this way, not that way, because when you go back in time, blah, 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 like, it's like, stop, please. I'm still grunting. What are you on about? I know, right? You just like, bash your face into the keyboard, and what comes out, you kind of just hope for the best. And ultimately, language is about being able to communicate, right? So it's like, if you're communicating in a way that people can't understand, that's a problem, right? But if you slightly pronounce something differently, it's not a fucking problem, right? It's just like the difference, like, it's the same thing for spelling, right? It's like the point of spelling is to communicate something, right? That's why Ultria is annoying, because they're failing to communicate. They're trying to communicate Artoria, but they're not. That's the problem, right? If we wanted to start changing how we used our, our letters for that, who cares? That's fine, right? But, yeah, because like they are trying to communicate, and they are trying to say Artoria, they're just doing it wrong. And it makes a problem. There's no winning. When you do what Type Moon is doing with Artoria's name, you can't win. You either say what they're putting out there, and you follow the rules, if you will, and say Ultria, right? but or you say Artoria, which is what they actually want it to be, but then it's not matching the spelling, right? So there's no winning with these things. Language is fascinating because it's so important, and like it really is important, right? Like let's say everyone died except for like children, like like babies even, and somehow these babies were like cared for by robots so they could grow up, and then they had no access to like all the information that we have, and they don't have like parents telling them about language, and they're not hearing these words, they're not reading these things. They would go back to like the Stone Age, right? They literally wouldn't be able to communicate like we can, right? Like they'd go back so hard, right? So like the process is really important, and it's very slow and takes a long time to get to where language is. And thankfully the human brain's able to like catch up really quickly. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't appreciate that, and they try to act like it's about the rules or something. I mean, most people actually still spell it Artoria, I would say. What I see is people that got into Fate through FGO will spell it Altria. And then people that have kind of been in Fate since before FGO will pretty much always spell it Artoria. But the reason I go with Artoria for many reasons. One, that's what they want it to be. They just don't know how English works, so they're just spelling it wrong, right? Like they literally want it to be Artoria, which is evident by every character that says the name in any official work ever always saying it Artoria. And then them having spelled it both ways, funnily enough. But then also because, Altria just sounds fucking stupid. So it's like, it just makes, for me, it makes a lot of sense to go with Artoria because that's what they're wanting to say. It's been spelled that way many times. It's been spelled Altria as well, but that's not how they're wanting it to be said. So I'm just gonna go with Artoria, right? That's what we've been saying this whole time since before FGO. That's how they want the name to be pronounced. And now, if you wanted to like spell it Altria and pronounce it Artoria, that's just confusing. You could do that if you wanted, but, I'm kind of like, fuck it. Saba is still valid? Yeah, there is that. People used to call her Saber all the time. It was just, then they added so many more Sabers that it stopped being, usable, really. Although if you spell it Saba like that, everyone knows what you're talking about. Like, everyone knows if you spell it that way what you're talking about. Same with Berserkar, yeah, that too. Like, all those. Although some people won't know, because I guess they don't know the memes or whatever, but most people know. I mean, you say why not, but I can think of a lot of reasons. Like, the why not is because that's literally not what the name is supposed to be, because no one says it that way. And they've never spelled it that way until recently, aside from like the old character material book and stuff. And it sounds dumb as hell. Now, if you don't think it sounds dumb as hell, that's fine, but it doesn't change the fact that when they actually pronounce it, they always say Artoria. That's kind of the main shtick of it. But it's a fictional character, so I don't really care. Like, if people just like Altria more and they want to call her Altria instead, I don't really care. It's like, whatever. Now, I still personally think it sounds dumb as balls, but it's not. You're not like attacking me because you say Altria instead of Artoria. Like, who gives a shit? Someone's name being as dumb as shit though doesn't change the fact that it's their name, right? But again, fictional character, so. Oh yeah, and then you've got the other added nonsense where you've got Attila and her dumb nickname, and then it just gets really confusing, so... Dude, there is official stuff. There's official stuff for Fate that spells it Artoria and Altria, like both ways, so... They're quite bad about this. Altria definitely has not grown on me, but it really is besides the point for me because, like I said, the nail in the coffin is the actually pronounce it Artoria, so I'm like, fuck it. And it's not like, and this happens all the time. It's like, for instance, the way the Japanese people pronounce Bob, it doesn't sound like the way we pronounce Bob. And that's fine, right? But it's a made-up name, so it's like, it's, kind of whatever. Oh yeah, that's another reason, is the fact that Artoria actually sounds derivative from Arthur, right? You can see where they're coming from, right? It's like, it's a more kind of a feminine take on Artoria, right? You have Artorius, which is where like Arthur comes from and stuff like that, so, you know, it makes sense. Like Arthur, Artorius, Artoria, like, you very logical steps here, right? So Artorius and Artoria really are like, you know, you can see the boom boom here, right? But then Altria. What? Arthur, Altria? It's like, this is, you got the A, you know, it's like, that's not much of a derivative name that's not really, you know, based on it. So, there's so many reasons why I think Artoria is better. But again, I'm not gonna like throw people in a fire because they say Altria, right? It's kind of a meme. But I think the reason it's a meme is because a lot of times it is truly indicative of someone that's kind of newer to the franchise or is like got into it through FGO, and people like to pick on newbies. That's I don't know why, but that's just how a lot of people are, right? Like oh my god, you got into Fate through FGO, what a newbie, right? Doesn't even know about Fate Stay Night and shit, right? Like that's a dumb mindset, don't get me wrong, but I think that plays into some of the Altria memes. And then ultimately, it's just because it's so obvious that the company doesn't understand the English language, right? Like, that's the whole reason that name exists. It's not a thing. Her name's not Altria, right? It's just a fact, right? Like, Type Moon does not envision her name as Altria. They don't, right? They just don't understand spelling, right? So it's like this made-up name that kind of came out of a bad translation, or a bad understanding of spelling, so it's just kind of weird. And some people like it because of that, I guess. But I think that's a big part of why a lot of people are kind of against it. It's because it's just a fuckery, right? Like, dude, there's so much mainstream Japanese products where they replace R with L and vice versa. Like I've seen mainstream Japanese products that spell dream with an L instead of an R. And they just spell it that way, right? They just think it's dream, right? It ain't, but, you know, there's so much of that. Dude, even Armored Core, my beloved Armored Core did that. There's a song title called Spirit of Motherwell, and they replaced the R in Spirit with an L. And it's just like, oh, God. And that's literally on the official soundtrack. That's on the official soundtrack. And that's the thing. That means technically the official name of that song is Spirit of Motherwell. That is technically the official name of the song. Everyone says Spirit of Motherwell because it's obviously a mistake. And in the game, the voice actors pronounce it Spirit of Motherwell, right? So because it's a fucked up like mecha monstrosity that's named that. Don't get me. You don't even want to know. But so it's like, the reason why Altria is dumb is it's the same reason why saying Spirit of Motherwell would be dumb, right? Because obviously that's not what they intended. Obviously, you know, they at no point were they like, oh yeah, this thing is going to be called Spirit of Motherwell. What's a Spirit? I don't know, we just made it up. They were obviously referencing spirit. That's like, that's what they're trying to convey, and that's how they pronounce it and everything else. So if you, like, people that start, there actually is a YouTube video on YouTube. You can look this up. If you look up the soundtrack of Armored Core, like go right now, go to YouTube if you're free, and type in like Spirit of Motherwell Armored Core like OST, and one of the videos is spelled Spirit of Motherwell, and it even says in the description in the comments, he's like, yeah, I know it's spelled weird. It's because that's what it's spelled on the soundtrack, right? Like the one guy did do that. But, you know, everyone else does Spirit, and when talking about it, everyone calls it Spirit of Motherwell, not Spirit, because it's fucking stupid. But same thing with Altria, I just think it's stupid, right? It's the same logic, it's just a mistake. Now, because it's a made-up name, it's easier to get away with saying Altria, because it's not as noticeable, or if you say Spirit of Motherwell, it's really noticeable, like, why are you saying that? Like, everyone's like, what the fuck is that? I've never even heard of that, right? That's why I think one happens and the other really doesn't. So yeah, thankfully the Medusa fuck up is gone, because they couldn't get away with that one. I'm telling you though, that's only because she hasn't, like, the name Medusa has been officially translated a million fucking times and other sources and stuff. and it's not a made-up name anymore, right? I mean, technically every name is made up, obviously, but like it's such an established, like known name now that they couldn't get away with spelling it that way. And because it's really easy for translators, like, oh look guys, here, like here's some like actual Greek, you know, stuff, and it's always translated like this. See, so it's obvious to then switch it to that. Where with Artoria, because it's a completely like made up name by Type Moon, they're like, yeah, it's this. This is the name, right? Because Type Moon said, not Type Moon, the localizers for FGO, they said they wanted to translate it Artoria. They like, that was how we were going to do it. But Type Moon specifically said to spell it that way. And it was like, oh god. And by the way, since then, like we've had post that event, they've had like Artoria say her name and stuff before, and she still says Artoria. It's not like they've like tried to retcon it and had her start saying it a different way. They have not done that. I am so not paying attention to my turns right now. I shouldn't have stunned. I should have just NP'd here. Well, if I can kill the... I don't think I can kill this one. Okay, fuck it. I'm just NPing. Wasting the stun. Who cares? The Altria, I think, is the only original name that they've like gone back to, like how they spelled it in like the first character material book. All the other ones, I think they've been like, okay, no, this. It's because all the other ones though have like official, you know, translations from other works and other, you know, things. So. Probably should have done our Buster card, but this should work. Yeah, it's the old character material book spelled Medusa that way, and it spelled it Altria, and all kinds of other nonsense. English is hard. Legitimately though, English is really hard to understand from, like, for other languages in general, but especially from Japanese people. Like, the kind of mindset that they have, like, with their language, it's so different from ours. Like, the Japanese language is very different from English. And like just the way that they, you know, pronounce things and the way they use their tongue and everything, and then just the mindset of like how Japanese speak is so different than the mindset of how Americans and English and Australians and stuff speak. It's so different. So I'm not really that surprised that there's so many pronunciation and spelling and issues and whatnot. Alright, should work. Probably should have. Oh no, this is fine. Oh my god, I really wanted that to. Okay, Geronimo with the cleanup. There we go. Like I was saying, I didn't want the art card to go into the first guy. Her name is supposed to just be the flower, but you know, things happen. I mean, they both sound like a name, like, cause it is the name of a flower, right? So it's like, it's kind of whatever. But yeah, the mistranslation, or, I don't know, misunderstanding is a little odd. Yeah, I think a lot of people think a lot of, like, professional Japanese companies are, like, you know, because they're professional, they're obviously getting this stuff right, but they normally don't, right? Like, overwhelmingly, when Japanese companies try to spell things with English characters, they don't do so good, right? And it's fine. It's not the end of the world. I don't get anal about these things. It's like, you know, I know what they're trying to say. With Be Lit of Motherwill, I know what they're trying to say. It's okay. You know, I'm aware that they have L and R problems, right? I got it. What I don't like is this, like, this Puritan attitude where you try to act like, oh, because they spelled it that way, it's supposed to be said that way. That's just, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that literally doesn't make sense. I'd like to remind everyone of Billy the Kid's original name in FGO in A. Official translation, by the way. Thankfully, they fixed that one. That was pathetic, by the way. That was because not a hard name. Like, first off, not a hard name. Also, you're the American version of the game, and you're dealing with one of the only American characters in the game. Like, how do you fuck that up, right? And again, not a complicated name. You know, there's a few, you know, English you know, or more American names, if you will, that are maybe a little complicated, but Billy is not one of them. And, you know, Billy the Kid is very famous, you know, very fucking famous in America, and he's like the only North American, or well, he's not the only North American, but one of the only American characters in the game, for God's sakes, and they completely messed it up, and it's like, what the hell? Like, did you not proofread this? There's actually a lot of evidence that they don't proofread their stuff. And I'm guessing they don't have the time, like, because I know they're a very small team, so I legitimately, I don't think they have time to proofread a lot of stuff that they do, and that's why you have like a lot of weird misspellings and stuff in the main story. And for real, when you're translating and just typing out that many words, you're going to mess words up. Anyone that's like written a long essay or whatever knows, like, yeah, sometimes your brain just, you know, farts and replaces a word with another word, and or just clicks the wrong key or whatever, right? Like that kind of stuff happens all the time. But you normally have time to check over that stuff. Because there's times where like I'm talking and I'm not actually proofreading my stuff. I'm like, oh my god, look at all these silly mistakes, right? It happens all the time. The thing is, if you're putting out something professionally, like, you know, you normally would have someone that's their job. You have like a third-party proofread, right? That works really well is when you have someone that's very detached from it, reading over it. That's not the person actually writing it. Right, that's the professional process to like catch typos, right? That's generally what you do. But it's kind of obvious that they don't do that with FGO, and I'm imagining that's because they're just not given the manpower and time frame to do that. Because I know they're literally like a team of like 2 or 3 people, right? So it's like, you know, what are you gonna do? I'm also in my horse bendo here. Mine's in P2, and I've been wanting to use him more because I picked him as my free 5-star, and I really like him. But I need to make a video for him. I actually have not made a video for him yet, which I kind of I always feel like I have, but I haven't, so I need to fix that. And yes, he is green. That helps quite a bit. Looks cool, green, cool attacks, good voice actor. You know, good combo here. Well, I agree, Arjuna. You know, there are a game that makes, you know, billions of dollars, but the NA version doesn't make as much money, and so they obviously don't put as much effort into the NA version. Because as far as I'm aware, the Japanese version has had way less typos throughout its history, right? Where it's, you know, the NA version has not had such a good track record. Alright, Chad, if you got any more questions, that was a good time. That's how you get me to stop talking about story and language, is just bring up something else. That's the trick. The reason it comes up so much, though, is because there's so many people that are just so fucking anal about language, and I can't stand it. Like, I can't fucking stand it. Because it happens all the time. Like, oh my god, Green pronounced something this way. Oh my god, ha ha ha. And I'm just like, okay. Like, every goddamn time. But that's definitely why we got in language a lot. Best armored core in your opinion? I mean, I've probably answered that a million times, but I mean, for answer, it's like the generic thing to say because most people say that, but it's because it's the best game. Like, so yeah, definitely armored core for answer. Okay, I think I got horse bendo slotted now. Look at these horses. Feels good, man. Wait, no, I gotta still bring Herc. We can't be that dumb. Here, I'll just put him in the front, see how that works. What's ever gone wrong from putting Hercules in the front? We should put in Qingong. That's better. Which fictional character has your favorite armor suit? I don't know if I can point to exactly one off the top of my head because there's so much fictional armor out there and I like a lot of it, but I'm not gonna lie, Raid Shadow Legends has a lot that I really like because Raid Shadow Legends actually bases a lot of their like the human factions off actual medieval stuff. You know, they combine like eras and stuff sometimes, and they kind of mix and match a bit. So it's not like necessarily historically accurate, but there's a lot of really cool looking armor in that. There's a lot in Dark Souls that I like. Not sponsored, by the way, indeed. But seriously, I know Raid is like a meme, but dude, legitimately, they do a good job with a lot of like having actual armor sets in there. And again, sometimes they have like, you know, a helmet from one era and a chest piece from another, but I mean, that's fine. And all that stuff ends up looking really good. And let me think of like a named character though, because most Raid Shadow Legends characters like that don't actually have a name, they have a title. This is too big of a question for me to just like pull something out of my ass. This is something where I need to like sit down and go through a lot of past games and anime that I've seen and kind of look at the designs again and really think about it, because I like armor a lot, and there's a lot out. I mean, there's not as much out there as there should be, because anime, you know, hates heavy armor, and video games kind of do too. But there's been so many video games and anime and movies and books and everything that there's still a decent amount out there. But yeah, I don't know. I truly don't know, because there's too much to pick from right now. I'll try to remember to look into that later, because that's a cool topic. Like in F-Go, I would say, I mean, Mordred's up there, not very realistic, but it still looks cool. Arthur's pretty good. Yeah, Mordred and Fate is probably my favorite off the top of my head. And I do like Lancelot a lot, right, with his helmet. See, you joke, but I could make a tier list. I could make a tier list for fictional armor, 100%. It wouldn't even be hard. Like, I would just take a bunch of media and whatnot, and I could totally rate that stuff. I can go through my criteria. I have a criteria in my head. Like, I could break it down. I need to have the stuff in front of me to look at, right? Like, I can't imagine all the different, you know, fictional armor that I've seen off the top of my head. There's a few armor sets in F-Go, or just in Fate in general, that are almost realistic. None of them are like full-on realistic, but that's fine. It's fantasy. It's not really supposed to be realistic. There's certain characters though they want to have like an authentic feeling. That's kind of the point of it. Because even like Saber Gilius's is not. That's not authentic. I mean, that's not accurate. It's authentic, but it's not accurate, especially for the period. It's close though. And then like Lancelot, same deal. Like the way his shoulders are, it's not really a thing, and like the weird cords on his back. What the hell's going on there, right? Like, you know, none of it's like, you know, 100% accurate. But they don't need to be. They don't need to be. Unless you're trying, unless you're a game like Mountain Blade or something that's like really trying to. Oh, this is a boss fight, isn't it? This is like the preview one though, I think. You got like a more proper fight with them in a second. I'll have to take that actually seriously. I would never be able to write a book. There's so many reasons that wouldn't go well. So what I need is, I like how because of the way Taunt and Guts works, it's skipped Thickcaster. So I basically just need NP gain really fast here. That's a turn though. It's not really worth it to use the evade just for the crit up though. Like this is not good enough to do that. You know what? It is, and then we taunt him. I shouldn't have used Shingon's second skill then, but this guarantees that I'll get his NP in time, and that's actually good. %10% crit or the higher base damage? Probably the higher base damage. Wow! Imagine if I had given him the Buster buff. She would be dead right now. Also, I didn't get my NP. Feels bad. Jesus. Well, that's kind of wasted damage though with our NP being AoE, right? That doesn't isn't really necessary, but I'll take it. I thought Herc was the one that was supposed to wreck her. I mean, hell, if I done the Mysticode skill, I would have killed. God damn it! Like I got my NP now, and that's why I stunned her last turn, by the way. Should have brought Medea in the back. I could switch in Medea and remove it. But I didn't even know this stage was what we were gonna do, so. Man, I'm gonna lose my quick buff now. I should just art chain. I like Lion King's armor a lot more than Lantoria's. They're similar, but I like Lion King's more. That's pretty cool. I tell you, some of my favorite armor is probably going to be from like trash mobs in video games, though. There's a lot of video games that made trash mobs, because trash mobs are more likely to have armor that's got helmets and, you know, that kind of thing. Like the video games, anime, movies, you know, you name it, they have such an aversion to having main characters with full face helmets, right? And full face helmets are awesome because they look way more badass and they actually protect you, which is nice. And dude, if you just look up like real life medieval helmets, they have such awesome designs, right? They're amazing. But oh no, you gotta make sure the audience can see the character's face, so you never get any of that. Yeah, I don't like Lantoria stage 3. It's not great. Hot Wheels armor is interesting. I do like it. It's not even remotely, you know, historical. That's fine. You know, I've seen plenty of armor that's not historical or anything. It looks good, of course. You know, Mordred's armor is not even slightly historically accurate or even practical, but it still looks cool. The thing is with me, it's not even about like being a Puritan and like liking things because they're realistic. It's because realistic things generally look very practical, and I like things that look practical. So there's a lot of overlap there. I should grab some pictures sometime and kind of show chat, like the kind of armor sets that I do like, because there's plenty of them out there. But I tell you, there's plenty of them out there. But like I said earlier, it's just because there's so many things have been made, right? It's actually so rare when video games get made that I actually really aesthetically like anything in terms of like what the characters are wearing or anything. Very rare. Trap face NP10 feels bad, Arjuna. Also, Arjuna, why did you do that? Did you literally do that just to see? Is that you just like messed? Was that a way to kill time for you? I don't even. Okay, the charm spam is getting pretty old. I'm not gonna lie. This is what happens when you... I gotta say that the AI was getting so lucky because her charm chance is not 100%, for God's sakes. Yeah, I brought 0 ways of dealing with it, so... I mean, you're not supposed to have a missing master, it's just a glitch. Alright, I need a BRB real quick. I gotta get more water. I'm going through water like a madman. Alright, I'm back. I buffed who so many times? Who are y'all talking about? Actually, Nero can loop. I don't know why. So I am convinced the majority of the FGO player base has forgotten how looping works. I'm serious. I think the overwhelming majority of the FGO community thinks the only way you can loop is NP refund. Like, and it's because that's been like the meta for a while. So literally everyone is like, if the unit can't get their NP back from using their NP, they can't loop. It's impossible, right? Which is the stupidest fucking thing on the planet. Like, that's not how this works. You know, meanwhile, we have like 1 million units with battery skills. I wonder how that works. I know, like, Mordred and Artoria can loop so easily. Like, it's super easy. Like, it's just waver, for God's sakes. It's not a problem. Like, if you're talking about double cast story, like, this is what I see. People are like, it only counts if you're getting your NP through pure refund on your NP with double Castoria. So it's like, wait, if double Castoria is okay, that means like double Waver's okay, or double Scatty's okay, or Waver Scatty's okay, and then like so many things can loop. Like, what are you talking about, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, this guy was telling me you couldn't loop with Geronimo, and I literally made a video of looping with Geronimo. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just stupid. Like, Waver exists. Like, hello. Like, good God. Alright, this is the actual fight. I kind of want to save this for next time, but we've done nothing fun this stream, so we should try to do this. I'm tired and hungry, so I don't know if we're going to have a good boss fight here, but okay. We should bring something that's not going to, like, just completely trivialize the boss. But we want to bring something that's fun, too, right? So we got to find the right mix here. How about we've yet to try out Brunhilde Berserker proper. Let's try that out. She's good for the fight, but she's not, like, going to strong arm it with stats or anything. So let's see how she does. And I've been wanting to actually try to use her practically for once, so. Although I don't have Shakespeare and things like that. The majority of things that you would use her with on a budget account, I don't actually have, so. Oh, there's Spartacus, though. There's Spartacus, though. If we fail, if we go with Spartacus. Because Spartacus would be really fun here. Oh, right. I'm over here looking at my main account for Brunhilde. I didn't get her. Even though I threw a lot of summon tickets at her and I got Kiara, I didn't actually get Brunhilde. Feels bad. God, this game, why does it have to be this way? And that's the thing, people act like you can't 3-turn for some reason if a unit's not getting, if they're not looping through EMP refund, which is bullshit because people have been 3-turning since before Scatty even existed. Like, what are you talking about, right? It's like, we've had so many ways to loop someone's NP and still 3-turn with and without Castor or Toria and with or without Scatty, right? You don't, like, it's just stupid. Like, oh my God, Castor or double Castor or Toria and Nero doesn't result in Nero getting all of her NP back from her NP, therefore she can't loop. Like, that's thinking way too much inside the box. That's not how this works. I mean, I do NP refund setups too sometimes, but I 3-turn so much on so many accounts with nothing that's anything to do with NP refund off your own NP, right? Like, it's not abnormal. I think the player base is just getting lazy. I really think it's because it's become so easy to 3-turn with NP refund, and it's been the meta for so long, people have just forgotten, like, every other method. Like, it's just, you know, people are like, oh yeah, it's this or nothing, right? Gotta roll, you're such an idiot if you don't roll in Castoria. I've seen so many people say that, and I'm just like, oh God. Alright, let's see. So they're both AoE NPs. I don't remember which one I normally kill first. Probably Wu, but I don't really remember. I remember we did this on like all 1 to 3 star and stuff on an A, I think. I know I did it on some account. I don't remember what it was, but I don't remember the method. So I'm trying to think if I want to bring like single target stuff to just like nuke the shit out of her, or if we want to do AOE stuff. I would imagine Wu first, because then you can just clean up with like Ushi. Kill Wu first anyway, indeed. It's gonna be really hard to work Hercules into this team, because I'd want to put him in the back, but I kind of want to put Ushi in the back, and then I don't really want to put Hercules in the front, but I want Hercules to get Bond, because that's the whole point of this endeavor. You need to level your servants. Yeah, because it's not like I've got like 80 accounts, and I probably have more max level servants than you do. I probably have more max level servants than most people in chat. You know what I want to do here? Oh my god, if they did story replay. I want to use Fionn setup here, like on my main. Because one, he's class neutral against both, so it's impressive if he can get the damage out. But because he's class neutral against both, it doesn't matter that they're two different classes. And then he gets the charm immunity from his NP, and you're gonna be, you know, obviously the way Fionn works, you spam his NP like a motherfucker. That could be pretty fun. Like I'll try to remember that if they ever do add story replay. I mean, never mind counting all my accounts, just my main account, for God's sakes. But if you look at, like, collectively, even if everyone combines all their accounts, if you look at all the characters I've ever maxed versus ever in my chat that they've ever maxed, I can pretty much guarantee you I've maxed more stuff. Like, I have maxed a fuckload of characters. Okay, let's see. Not sure MASH is gonna be worth it. It's probably too much support if I do like that. I mean, it depends. This is where I wish I had Leonidas. Leonidas would be good instead of Hans. David's got charm removal. That's kind of nice. Oh yeah, this account doesn't have Medea. I was gonna say Medea's not too bad. Because, female removes charm, counters woo. I mostly want Hans because of his third skill. That's like the main reason. Maybe unnecessary. Maybe Qinggong's unnecessary though. 10% battery. Big bus strap though. I'll try this. I'm pretty skeptical on this. I think I need another DPS instead of Hans or something, but we'll see what happens. I tell you, talking about armor earlier, that's a big part of why I like mecha, is because mecha is like it's basically an extension of armor. Now, funnily enough, I'm a big fan of mecha, but I'm actually pretty picky. Like, I think when a lot of people think mecha, they think very colorful, like, you know, super robot kind of stuff. I don't really like that stuff very much. You know, I like, you know, stuff more like Armored Core and, you know, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of mecha out there that is kind of up my alley, but it's not really the stuff I think in the mainstream view too much. Double mash is actually like really strong. It's kind of boring and slow, but it do pretty good. Do I need to switch? I don't think so. I guess Atlas. G Gundam is the pinnacle of mecha, but like, the whole like very colorful, you know, stuff. That's like the most popular stuff ultimately. But I actually don't really like all the like hyper colors, mecha too much. Gundam kind of runs the gamut though. They have everything, right? They have designs that are super colorful. They have designs that are kind of toned down. They have designs that are really grounded. They have some that are kind of in between. Like they're everywhere, right? They've got, you know, like I can think of so many Gundam designs that I like, but I can think of so many Gundam designs that I don't like. But I overwhelmingly like the mechs from Gundam that aren't Gundams. Like overwhelmingly, like I like the grunts and the, you know, other type suits that aren't technically a Gundam, right? Those overwhelmingly are the ones that I like, because they're normally, you know, more grounded looking. I don't like Evangelion, no. Like not in terms of like mecha design and stuff. And I don't really like the story that much either. It's not like the worst thing on the planet, but I don't really like it. It's kind of eh. I always felt like a big thing that turned me off from it was like I remember in the early days of anime, you would just constantly hear people like on the internet, because you know back then the anime community was really small, but like everyone was acting like Neon Genesis Evangelion was like the deepest story ever made. And I remember watching it and I'm like, I kind of already thought through these things and figured it out by the time I was like 12. And I'm like, I don't really find this stuff it's not really that deep. Now, a story does not have to be deep to be good, right? But I don't think it's that good either. Like, it's just eh. Like, you know, I'll give it credit where it's not generic. I'll give it that, right? It is in some areas, but for the most part, it's at least something different, right? But I'm not gonna like something just because it's different, and I don't like the designs, I don't like the characters, I don't find it very deep at all. It's actually a lot of teenage bullshit. So I'm like, I don't really care, and I don't like the designs, and I don't like the character. I literally don't like any of the characters, right? Like I don't like any of them. I'm like, I don't care about any of them. You can all die, whatever, right? Like I don't like anyone in it at all, and I don't find any of them interesting, right? There's sometimes there's a character that you don't really like, but you find them interesting, and you find like the story around them compelling. I don't find the story in now I haven't seen any of the newer stuff. I know they've done like a lot more with Evangelion since then, and there's like a lot of new characters, and they've changed the story, and it's like I got rebooted a million times. I have no idea about any of that stuff. I've never seen any of that stuff. But with the original, I was just like, meh. It was funny though, because a lot of people around me really liked it, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. It's almost, I feel like Neon Genesis is trying too hard to be deep. Like it's like that teenager in your class that's like trying to write poetry that's like, you know, super deep, but it's really not. That's what Neon Genesis reminds me of. It's trying really hard to be deep, and it's just not. It's pretty whatever, and then the characters are just so unlikable that I'm just like, and the designs are weird. Like, so I'd be like, oh, they're so cool. And if you think that's great, you know, have fun. But I'm like, they just look dumb to me. Like all the bad guys and the good guys all look stupid. It doesn't look edgy. It doesn't look. It just looks dumb. It looks like all the mechs look like they've been hit on the head with like a club way too many times, right? That's what they all of them look like. And then all the angels look like they were trying to make something weird, but they didn't have time to actually design anything that elaborate. Like that's overwhelmingly what they look like. It's like they're trying to make something out there and different and very unhuman, but they did not have the time or the budget to actually animate it. So they're kind of like a gimmick. And I'm like, you know, it's just. So yeah, between that and then just like literally not liking a single person in the entire show, I just don't care for it very much. But, you know, I'll give them some credit for at least doing something different, right? It's not like same-o, same-o. I didn't even find it that dark, right? It's not even that dark. Like, it tries to be dark in like the movies at the end, but then they're not. Because they bring everyone back. So it's like, nothing happens. Like, it's just stupid. Like, and like all the philosophical bullshit. I'm like, literally, I thought of this stuff when I was like 12, right? Like, it's not that deep. Wait, these are trash mobs. Are you kidding me? I thought this was. I mean, maybe it is Woo and Thick Caster. You just have these trash mobs first. But if that's the case, I should have brought a very different setup. Like, why do I have K-scope on MASH, right? That doesn't make any sense. God damn it, game. Guess I'm gonna throw this out early. Man, K-scope is so wasted now. This is bullshit. So, Darling in the whatever, I've not actually watched. I have seen a few episodes, and I've watched videos covering it and like talking about the story and whatnot, so I know what happens. But from what I have seen of it, it looks pretty dumb. It looks like they started off with a pretty like grounded concept and like trying to make it like very character driven and about like the relations between the characters, and then they ran out of angst and they just got really weird. That's overwhelmingly what it looks like to me. And the ending, it's not deep, it's just weird. And it's not weird like, oh man, like this is covering really interesting ideas. It's really not. Like, again, I haven't seen it, you know, all the way through, so I can't really talk about that much, but it never grabbed me. Like, when I saw it, I was like, this doesn't, again, don't really like anyone in the cast, don't like the designs, story seemed like you know, kind of like trying too hard, and I'm like, whatever. Like, I could see people enjoying it if they like the characters, right? If they find the characters relatable or likable or interesting, great, right? Because that's obviously a very subjective thing. But I didn't find any of the characters that way. This is how, truly, I'm not kidding. This is how that anime impacted my life, and this is how I view it. It's that annoying anime that got really popular and fucked up all the searches for 02, right? It used to be fucking Kirby Boss that was awesome, and now it's a fucking anime waifu, right? That's the effect it had on my life, right? So I'm like, god damn it, get this waifu off my screen. I'm trying to find the music for the goddamn Kirby Boss. Like that's how I feel about it. I'm not even kidding. That's how I feel about that anime, because that's the effect that it had. I try my best to try to separate fan bases from the actual thing, because you have to remember this, and I have to remind myself about this with like Neon Genesis, right? Because I was surrounded by a lot of people that were like, oh my god, this is the deepest anime ever made by man, and I'm just like, bleh. But so many people are not the fan base. So many people watch these things and enjoy these things, you know, that goes for Fate and everything else, that they don't articulate these things, right? Like, you have a lot of people that watch that darling anime, and they're not part of the greater fan base on Reddit or whatever, right? So I try to remind myself of that as often as possible, because, you know, that can end up skewing your view on things. I actually really like those emotes, though. It's funny, and that I actually completely associate them with Arjuna and not 02, so it's fine. Like, I've seen them, the way they're used by Arjuna so much, it's just Arjuna stuff, right? It's not even 02 stuff in my mind. But they're good emotes, like, they express the emotion very well. But from what I've seen of the characters in that anime, I don't like hate them. I just don't. None of them are like, oh wow, I find this interesting, right? Or I find that relatable, or like they're kind of just there, right? But that's fine, right? It's like, that doesn't mean they're not necessarily good characters. I'm not surprised some people like them, and that's, you know, good for you, right? That's fine. I don't think they're like poorly written or anything. I think there's some bad writing in the story from what I've seen, but like the concept of what the characters are about and the themes they're about are fine, right? There's no problem. Fullmetal Alchemist? Is that what you're asking? Brotherhood, Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood? I've talked about that before, because okay. It's not my favorite anime by any means, but I do respect it a lot. It is written well. It does have proper character arcs. It has proper motivations. It has well-written characters. Like, in terms of from a writing standpoint, I respect the hell out of it, because it's not written like trash, right? Like, you can tell the writer didn't just barf it up and then start making shit up as they go. Because like, so many writers like plan out the first like chunk and then they just make it up as they go, right? It's so obvious. They blatantly did not do that with Fullmetal Alchemist. The writer of it, which is really, I think it's a manga, I think, clearly had an idea for the beginning, middle, and end from the beginning. Yeah, they filled in some blanks here and there, but they had a story that they wanted to tell. It wasn't, oh, hey, I'm gonna make a story and just keep telling it until it's not popular anymore. Fairy Tail's a good example. They pretty much planned out up to like the Loxus arc, and everything after that they just made up, right? And you can tell because like a Fairy Tail, the beginning arcs actually delve into like the character motivations that they want to, and then they run out of things to do, right? And they just start making shit up, right? They kind of had it. Fullmetal Alchemist is not like that. They have a plan for all the characters. They have a character arc in mind for, you know, the character arcs and like the story arcs. They have things in mind. It has a set beginning, middle, and end, and that is that, right? They had what they wanted to cover, and they covered it, and it ends, right? I respect the shit out of that because it makes way better characterization. It makes, you know, you can have actual thematic stuff. You have pacing. You have like it. So on that front, I think Fullmetal Alchemist is excellent. The issue I have with it is mostly just subjective stuff. It doesn't have a lot of... It has some characters that I definitely like, absolutely. But it doesn't have a lot of characters that I'm super interested in. I don't hate the main characters, but I don't really like them either. And like, you know, there's just a lot... It's like the atmosphere is not exactly my favorite kind of atmosphere. The setting's not my favorite kind of setting, that kind of thing. But it's fine. Like, basically, I respect it a lot, but it's not exactly my cup of tea. But I don't mind it either. It's nice to just see a proper story in action anyway. It's so rare to see a story like Fullmetal Alchemist that just has a beginning, middle, and end that was planned out from the beginning. Which is insane to say that, but that's the world we live in now. You know, everything's gonna be dragged out to infinity. That goes for, like, you know, live action stuff too. And yeah, it sucks. Okay, we gotta hold on. I need to use the restroom real quick. I'm drinking all this water, for God's sakes. Yeah, is Kimberly the bomb guy? That explosion guy? That guy had that guy's character arc was awesome, actually. I thought he was really good. I talked about him last time. How he's basically like, his whole mindset and value system was so different from everyone else in the show. That's actually very helpful, right? It's like, and it's really handy. No, I don't mean Mustang. I know Mustang's the fire guy, but there was that one guy that like, specifically blew shit up. That he got like absorbed at the end, but then he screwed over the guy that absorbed him and all that kind of stuff. That guy was like the best, right? Because again, everyone in that show is really got their head up their own ass about their own morality and whatnot. And that guy was such a good foil to all of that. And the writer represented it really well. So that was great, actually. All right, I'll be right back. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. fucking hit my toe on a, oh my god, and I just sent water over my desk. Thankfully, it's literally hitting nothing but just raw desk, so it's fine, but... Oops. Fucking stubbed my toe and fucking got water on my desk. Let me get a towel here. Hold on. This is a... Stream the mess. So this is awesome. I've got this, like, hand towel that used to be white, and I accidentally put it in with, like, a bunch of green stuff when I washed and dried it. So now it's green, but I'm totally okay with that. I guess that's not a problem. Just wipe all this off. Whoa! Oh, that's right, because the way this works, the buttons actually do things. Oh god. Alright, that's pretty decent. But yeah, my issue with anime is... Most anime is very focused on the main characters. That's just how it is. Hold on, I need to like unplug my keyboard here. I got some water on it. Anyway, so most anime is pretty main character driven, and overwhelmingly the archetypes that you see for a main character I don't like. I don't relate to them. I don't find them interesting. It's just not happening. There's exceptions. There's plenty of exceptions. But overwhelmingly, I don't like the main cast in anime. And that makes it very difficult for me to enjoy it. You know, when the perspective character is just shoving bullshit down your throat the entire time and you don't like them, it's not great. Not a good time. You know, surprise, surprise, Baccano is my favorite anime when it doesn't have a main character, right? I actually haven't seen Vinland Saga. People keep telling me to watch that, and the only reason I haven't is I just haven't really found the time to, but I'll give it a try. Also, what I saw of it, it had loads of CGI, and that's overwhelmingly the reason I've never even wanted to watch it, was just the CGI everywhere. Like, God. Oh no, there's definitely shades of green that I like more than others. There's not many shades of green that I don't like, though. Okay. So, Thickcaster still doesn't have her NP. Look at neither of these things being Brunhilde beloved. Chat, do you think they'll add Brunhilde? Like the German version? I think they should because they have Siegfried. So at this point I feel like they should, but I don't think they're going to. Which sucks. Like, I think that really sucks. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. It is weird though that we get Siegfried and Sigurd and Brunhilde, but we don't get Brunhilde, right? Like, it's kind of weird. It's true, they could add her because she'd be a waifu, but because she's, you know, like, look, really, I hate to say this, but it's like, dude, look at their criteria. Anytime, like, something gets represented a lot and they really start to get into the side stuff and the alternate stuff, it's got to be Japanese, Chinese, and maybe Greek. That's it. Like, they're not jumping overboard to get all the you know, Nordic stuff and German stuff and all, like, it's not a thing. A little bit of European stuff, I guess, but not mostly because Natsu himself likes European stuff a lot. But that's about it. Like, I don't see them doing a lot of Nordic, you know, German stuff. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I don't think you're gonna see much of it at all. And same goes for like a lot of the like South American stuff. All that, I don't think they're gonna do much of that. That's why I'm scared about Lost Belt 7. Yeah, I'm very worried about Lost Belt 7. What some people think they might do is they might maybe focus on like you know, Britain, you know, British stuff in that region, you know, they like, you know, pre-Christian Irish and you know, like Welsh and all that stuff. And that would be fine. I like that stuff. I fucking actually love that stuff. It's some of my favorite stuff, but I don't want that for Camelot though, right? I'm so tired of them not, like, they keep almost doing Camelot, but not. Can we just once, just do Camelot and give us all the base stuff that everyone wants and get it done, and then do the other stuff? Like, holy shit, that's why I'm always like, can we just get, like, Nottingham? Can we just have a Nottingham singularity? Not Space Nottingham, just Nottingham. Like, oh my god, right? Can we just get some basic stuff here, right? When you do a Nordic story, can we have an actual Nordic story, right? And then when if you want to start branching out and make it weird, that's fine. But like, god damn, dude, like you can't make one of the buzzwords Land of the Knights of the Round and then not do like anything with the Knights of the Round. I'm serious. I think there's going to be one Knight of the Round. I think there's going to be fuck all Camelot stuff. I think it's going to be like Castor. It's going to be weird, man. Like they can just do it this way. You're going to get Castor Artoria, who's super weird to begin with because she's not like this standard part of Camelot, right? Like super alt universe nonsense, right? So we're going to have Castor Artoria, one Knight of the Round, maybe two, but probably just one. But maybe two. Maybe we got like one good one, one bad one or something, right? And then maybe Morgan or something Morgan related. And I think that's it. I think everything else is going to be, you know, fucking random bullshit because, you know, Muramasa is going to be there because that makes sense. And you know, maybe some, you know, older stuff from the region, right? But it's not going to be Camelot related. And then a lot of like guest things that aren't even from the area at all. Just like how America was full of things that had nothing to do with America or the land of America's history, if you will, right? Like none of that. You know, it was mostly, you know, the Celts are invading. All right. How? I almost want to taunt Mash. I actually probably should have used the cooldown reduction on Mash. The whole point of the team is try to make Brunhilde shine. Or Brunhilder, excuse me, shine, but it would have been a lot more practical to have done that on Mash. Like, I don't taunt anyone this turn, and I probably do it next turn. I really want to use Qingong's second skill later, so for the battery, but someone could get really fucked up if I don't use it now. Which is why I was wanting to taunt. Actually, I think we taunt Qingong. He won't take too much damage, and it's fine if he dies later. And having crit down out is good. I mean, I doubt... I'm just gonna say this because I know history pretty well. I doubt we actually know what the oldest take on Queen of the Fairies is. I highly doubt we know, right? We probably have an oldest confirmed one, but it's one of those things I strongly doubt we actually know what the oldest one is. I know a lot of people want Titania, or however you say it, but I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't think they're going to do that. Okay, our damage was not as good there as I would have liked. I'm not going to lie, but we didn't have a Mysticode buff, so... Okay, now we're pretty healthy, though. Do we Art Chain? Yeah. Any guess on Lustbolt King? I mean, they're obviously gonna... They're the one thing that I think is going to be somewhat Camelot related, because they basically played Excalibur Morgan's theme when they were firing Rongo Bongo and stuff. So I think it's going to be either Morgan or something related to Morgan. And a lot of people are like, oh, maybe they'll do, was it Morgana, or however you say her name, from like the Irish stuff. I don't want them to do that at all, because I've looked into this quite a bit. I looked into this a long time ago, and I looked into it again recently because people have been talking about it. There is basically no connection between her and Morgan. It's not a thing, right? The thing is their names are similar. That's nothing. A lot of people have been named Bob. That doesn't mean there's like a link there. A lot of historians have said this as well. It's like there's no real link between them, right? It's just the name. Like, that's stupid. Sure, the cultures were influenced by like the Irish stuff, and that's where the name is kind of developed from. Sure, like absolutely, that's where a lot of names come from. But that's nothing. Like, that's literally nothing. That is not a connection at all. There's no connection between those. I've seen no evidence that Morgan from Arthurian Legends is influenced from the Irish, you know, ladies of death bird bullshit, right? Like, that's not a thing. It's literally just the name at best, and we don't even actually have a confirmation that the name is influenced by it. It probably is, but you know, that's just like how certain names get adapted by cultures. It's not like, oh, they took that name for this character because of that story. It was more like, oh yeah, this name is kind of relevant in our culture in general, right? So that's pretty much it. So I really don't want them to do that, because yeah, I looked into that in the past, and I looked into that again really recently, and I'm like, yeah, this is bullshit. It's like, it's something everyone says there's a connection, but there's no connection. Like, there's literally nothing. This music, though. Okay, I think next turn we do Mash's first skill. No point in taunting right now. Grand Berserker SpongeBob, yeah, let's go. Bob the Builder is my favorite Tekken character, yep. Yeah, Bro Builder didn't do so good in that first NP, but I didn't really set it up that well, to be honest. And, you know, it's still getting the job done, but yeah, it could have been better. Oh, I didn't realize she quick charged when you broke the health bar, so I should have, cast Mash's first. That's bad. That's dumb. I had so many options to survive. We had invulnerability from the Mystic Code. You know, Mash could get taunt, and then Mash had her. Oh, she still has her evade, right? Because it lingers. Feels good. But yeah, then Mash had her invulnerability coming up next turn. I think I've had this exact moment before, though, where I was like, oh, she quick charges. I think that happened last time I did this fight. Okay, let's see. My god, we have a lot of... It's like Mash is good. Like, Mash with literally any other support that gives some survivability allows you to just have so much survivability. Like, Mash and Hans is ridiculous together. I don't really need to taunt, but... I mean, I can get my MP without taunting, that's the thing. So, I kind of want to do the whole double MP thing. That's the fun stuff. Chin's being way tinkier than I thought he would be, though. This fight would be harder if Pitcaster actually NP'd. They could give her like a longer MP bar, so she doesn't do it often. But I think that would have made it better. Okay, see, now we're looking for a Mash taunt. God, we could totally Chin Gong Mash. It wouldn't even be that bad, but I won't do that. At least not yet. I can't guarantee that I won't do it, but I'm not gonna do it yet. I want to get. I'm very likely to do it if I get value out of her taunt and invulnerability. And then, like, NP again, then I'm gonna be super likely to Chin Gong her. Because then she's gonna be at the point where she's not gonna get value again for a while, and then Hans could just come in, so... Yeah, I like Columbus and Megalos a lot. That's one of the many reasons I wish we had story replay. Kind of a weird time to use the invulnerability, but I'm kind of on board with getting rid of Mash at this point, so... Mash will MP again next turn, but we'll just lose the other attack buff next turn, so I might as well do this now.
と呼びますね。はいはい。
では始めよう。
I don't like using foreigners for berserker fights, because especially the older berserker fights, because they didn't exist. Like, they designed those berserkers without a counterclass in mind, and like their health thresholds and stuff are so dumb if you do have a counterclass. And even the new bosses they make, they don't generally design that way, so. Also, it doesn't help that I don't like any of the foreigners, so that makes it really easy to not use them. Alright, chat, it's time. Like, I mean, this is so blatantly the time. Mash can, you realize how, like, Mash can overcharge Qingong while giving him an attack buff, right? She's going to give him an attack buff and give him the extra overcharge, which is more damage. So she's, like, getting extra value out of the damage here. So I think it's time to say goodbye to Mash. She served the cause well. Her sacrifice will be remembered. I wish our Qingong had full items and was MP5. He has no attack foes and he's MP4, so he'll still be okay damage though. I'm imagining that Discord emote of Mash that people use a lot, like the happy Mash face. I'm imagining that on the arrow shot. I need to edit that into a video now. Hey look, Mash just killed Wu, right? Like this is a worthy cause. Mash just like blew herself up and killed Wu. Like that's some good use there. Alright. Let's get some value. Get our NP here and we have so much overkill value here though. Dude, Qingong and Mash here are actually pretty nasty. Like they got like the DPS didn't even matter. Like literally could be anyone. Well, we either win right now or we win next turn, so. Man, I would actually love to see Hans roast her in the story. Like the way she's behaving in this story, I would. Hans being there would have been kind of amazing. The wee Bob. So I think we're gonna go into a lot of the Megalos pin stuff soon, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'll be wrapping up in a minute. If there ever was a character to use often, I think Hans is the one. Like, I tell you, if, you know, because we got like a Sherlock, right? Sherlock's in like everything now because he's like part of the main cast of Lost Belt 2, right? Like, I want that to be Hans, right? Like, in where he's... Because then we just get him roasting people constantly. It'd be amazing. Like, make the main servant in 3.0 Hans, please. I'm not even kidding. That'd be great. All right. Did I just look? God damn it. Well, okay. I need to wrap up though. I got a lot I gotta do, and I'm not feeling so good because I didn't sleep much. So, well, that was fun though. Got some progress in. I think the next one's gonna be really fun though. The end of Agartha is actually pretty good, like gameplay wise. You get like the Pin fights, the Megalos fights, and Columbus and all that. And then the demon pillar here is pretty crazy actually. It's one of the harder demon pillars, if not the hardest demon pillar. So. You have a lot of like boring bullshit to slog through, but then the ending does do pretty well, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'll do my best to stream tomorrow. I'll try to play some Ninja Gaiden tomorrow as well. I was gonna play that today, but you know, what's sleep? Let's raid somebody. We'll raid, I guess we'll raid Ludes. He's playing some FGO. Not a lot of people playing FGO right now. I don't blame them, though. Yeah, I've been seeing less and less people playing FGO, but, you know, it is what it is. Alright, lads. Take it easy. Unless you don't want to take it easy, then you can go ham. I mean, you know, do whatever you want. It's your life, so...